our first matchup of the day, and it's going to be quite an interesting one here as we've got Rogue with some very new developments on their roster getting ready to go up against Victus here, a team that's been rolling their way around the kind of tier 2, tier 3 of the European division, and now going to get their chance to face off today here against one of the EUL's best. But as well as what I was just mentioning, there's been a bit of a wrinkle here with regards to Rogue's roster. Stokes, I'll leave it to you to talk about this player, as it's one that people have been looking forward to for quite a while.
Well, I think we got to talk about a couple of them here as well. I mean, we'll get the big one out of the way first. We got to talk about Spoit, the man, the myth, the legend, the YouTuber himself. I mean, you guys have seen his clips everywhere. The guy's a legend already, and he's burst onto the scene immediately, just like Bolo did back in the day when he went through these exact same rings and ladders. But we also have to talk about Kantoraketti as well on Rogue. So there's quite a few things happening with this team at the current moment. A lot of interesting stuff that we could see. I'm really excited for today, just to get a kind of sneak preview of what Stage 2 has to hold.
Yeah, and of course, going up against Victus, a team that we've been seeing work their way around some of the other regional tournaments, such as the UKI and the NPL as well. They've been doing quite well inside of that one, actually. And considering how Rogue had a decent start, I guess you could say, to their EUL season back in Stage 1, but tapered off a little bit, it seems, toward the end, had a couple of rough games there. It does leave a slight window open for a potential upset inside of this first matchup. It's important to note, though, guys, it is going to be a double elimination bracket, as you folks probably saw there in our format sheet. So if things do end up going awry here, not only are they going to have the benefit of a best of 3 to fall back on there, which Rogue will probably certainly appreciate that, but the fact that it's double elimination as well is going to give our teams so many opportunities to rebound if they don't immediately hit the ground running here today. But generally speaking, I would expect Rogue to be in the advantageous position for this matchup, just kind of given their experience and the inexperience of their opponents, at least at this level of play. But we'll have to see. As in Siege, we always end up being surprised by the caliber of teams that tend to show up to these more open tournaments.
Yeah, especially when they tend to come from, that T2, T3 scene, and they're starting to make a name for themselves. We usually see some pretty feisty gameplay, and I think that's what you and I are both here for today. We want that, bare-knuckle brawl, everybody hopping out windows and having a good time, because really, at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. We're here for a charitable event and for everybody to have some fun playing some competitive Siege.
Yep, absolutely the case. And even more fun in terms of going into this matchup, we were just told a few minutes ago that Azami is allowed for play inside of this game as well. So that's going to be very fun to see. Yeah, Azami is unlocked for this tournament. No, I'm not. I'm absolutely serious. So not only do we get Spoit playing, but we get potentially the Azami plays as well to come in here. So that's going to be very fun to see, because I think a lot of people are looking forward to seeing how she'll be able to impact the pro level meta for a long time. And this should be a great way to showcase it. I don't know if our players were made aware of that up until a few minutes prior, so she may not necessarily be ready to be worked into a few of these teams' strat books yet, but hopefully a few of them are willing to give her a try at least. I'd imagine teams have been preparing, as we're not too far off from her being unlocked for regular play regardless.
Yeah, not only that, with the new season coming in for Stage 2 across all of the regions, Sense will be allowed in play as well. So now we have 2 operators that are coming in for the very first time ever in Rainbow Six out of that quarantine period, which is going to be pretty interesting. But as for Azami, I mean, I'll be honest, I think I should have got more sleep last night to try and break these things down, because we haven't even seen these things yet. I don't know what we're going to expect. There's going to be some 4D chess going on. I don't know if I have the mental capacity at the moment to do this, John.
In general, I would expect a bit more of an aggressive defense, at least in terms of those anchor setups we tend to see teams go for. They'll have a lot more freedom when it comes to trying to position themselves a bit more aggressively here. So some aggressive peaks, some setups and whatnot to play into that. We'll definitely see teams, I think, give it a try or two, although I don't think we'll necessarily see any mainstay Azami plays showing up just as of yet here, because like I said, it's a bit of a surprise, I imagine, that she's been allowed in here, since she's technically not fully unlocked just yet, even though we're only a few weeks away. So teams might not be fully prepared, but hopefully, like I said, hopefully we end up being surprised, and hope that's the same for Victus overall as a team here coming into it. Like I said, not a whole lot of claims to fame outside of that tier 2, tier 3 area, but looking to change that today with a hopeful upset start to this tournament. If they can take Rogue down inside of a best of 3. We've got the map vetoes already as well. We can talk a little bit about that. I think we're still waiting for just one person on Rogue to join up, by the way, because you're wondering what the delay of game is. It looks like we're going to be starting out on Border for this series. That was the pick from Rogue. We're moving over to Chalet afterwards as the secondary pick from Victus, and then we were left over with Kafe as our third and final map. So I think it's actually going to end up being a pretty good spread at the end of the day, not too heavily on the like scrimmy, fraggy side of the maps. We got a few of them in there, obviously, with Border being in it, but we've also got some pretty strat-heavy maps with Kafe at the tail end of it, so it should be a good test of the entirety of our team's strategic breadth, and I don't think we're going to have to wait too much longer to see that, folks. I think the game is pretty much ready to go here, so we should be jumping in game in just a sec.
Exciting stuff. Finally get to see Spoit for the very first time, and a lot of legends on this team as well, with Leon as well as Kanto, also the fresh blood of Deepek on Rogue. And as you said, Victus with a great opportunity to prove themselves here inside of this best of 3. Just quickly going over some of the map stats, I was looking into kind of, what Rogue was kind of feeling like, this past stage, and Leon and Kanto didn't have the best stage overall, but obviously they have a, newer, fresh look to this Rogue roster, and also Kafe, they actually have a pretty solid record on. They've played it 3 times and they've won twice. So I'd say they at least have potentially one map on their hands. If Victus is, down for this, we could definitely see this go the full 3.
Yep, absolutely the case here. Keep in mind, of course, it is still a charity tournament at the end of the day, too, so there's a possibility for Victus to sneak through in that. But considering the prize pool that's up for grabs, if these teams make it through to the main event coming up in a few months' time, I think some of these teams, especially the EUL ones, are going to want to take it quite serious, as that is quite a lot of cash you could potentially be playing for if you make it to our main event. So teams will definitely be wanting to keep themselves at their most serious extent for that one, and I would expect Victus, especially here, to bring their A game to the table. A great chance to prove themselves, but they've got quite the challenger on the other side looking to stop them from doing it, as well as a whole lot of confidence coming from a brand new member that has yet to really see full-on competitive play, at least at this level. Very excited to see the debut of Spoit here, and it's going to be just a few minutes away. I did lie a second ago. Apparently, the players were not entirely ready. We had one guy on a bio break or something, so we're just waiting for that player to return, and then we can get started with this matchup, folks, and dive headfirst into Border for our first matchup here. Does mean as well that is going to be it is going to be Rogue starting out on the attacking side, so they'll have that little bit of extra work to do from that perspective there, having to once again get a bit more creative with their strategies, and more importantly, be the first to go up against all the Azami tricks that will more than likely come out from Victus if they decide to use her here. As I imagine Border is going to have quite a few positions where you can get quite creative with her, given how open that map tends to be, especially at off-site positions.
Yeah, almost as many positions as Spoit has champ charms in his thumbnails. So I'm telling you, John, it is a laundry list. I mean, 548,000 subs, but I mean, we got to switch up these thumbnails, man. I mean, I'm just seeing these champ charms after champ charms after. That's another champ charm. Yeah, there's just like no, but I mean, he's been coming up for such a very long time, and I think that's the one thing that like you and I really wanted to drive home when we really started looking into these rosters for Spoit, is that from a very young age he's been playing Siege, and now he's finally at this point where he has the potential to pull off another miracle run like we've seen before. We've seen it another time recently inside of the NAL, not to such a grandiose fashion inside of like the content creation field, but with Newers just completely jumping over CL and moving directly into the NAL and playing for Oxygen and playing extremely well at the recent Charlotte Major as well. But past that, though, folks, we are finally in game. We have delayed long enough. We have not ran out of things to talk about, thankfully. Victus Gaming versus Rogue. It starts right now.
All right, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Victus, as we said before, starting out on the defensive side. Rogue on the attack. That does mean Victus gets the first and final ban. No surprise in their initial choice here is they're going to knock Thatcher right out. He is still the pick of the litter quite often when it comes to attacker bans, so won't see much of a surprise when it comes to his elimination. Rogue of the next 2. Where will they take the bans towards? We're on board, I'm not expecting anything too surprising, but we're going to get a little bit of one. Nook going to end up being knocked out here instead of a usual second choice. Nook has become quite the prominent pick inside of actually quite a few of our attacker maps here, just because of the fact that she can obviously sneak in and get a nice flank position lined up. So we have started to see her get banned out a little bit more, so it makes perfect sense for Rogue here. Mira as well is going to line up quite well with what we've been seeing on the defensive bans as they'll get their final choice there. Oh, and Victus just throwing it right in the bin, not even taking a chance on it. Just immediately banning the Azami out. Honestly, I can respect it.
I don't know if I can. I wanted to see it so bad. You know what? If anything,
I did too, but I get it.
Times. I think that is a sign of the times, Blue. what might be coming with this next season might not be the best of tides. It may be an ill tide. We don't really know. We haven't got
Well,
to exactly see a sneak preview just yet.
the good news is when Sense is added in as well, you're only going to be able to ban out. Well, that's not technically true. Now I'm thinking about. I was about to say you're
One's
only
on
going to be able to ban
offense and
out
one's on
one.
defense, but
Yeah,
nice
yeah,
try there,
yeah.
bud.
Yeah, I was about to say like, oh, well, you can't get them both. But now that I think about it more, you actually can. So Stokes, you might be right about that. We might be in for bit of a revisit to the Lion time when he was
It
first
could
put
be
in.
a little bit of a hubbubaloo, you know, like could be a little hubbub inside of the next patch here. We really don't know, but the good news is that we don't really have to focus on it as of right now because this is going to be pretty plain Jane border, isn't it?
Yep. Pretty straightforward here, especially for our first site. Not expecting Victus to do anything too crazy. We've got the usual reinforcements going down onto that west wall. And aside from that, it does look like they are going to leave one panel soft just so the half-wall player can play around with the attackers a little bit there. Dapek will be aware of that due to his drone, I believe, placed on the inside there. We've got the rest of Rogue spawned out now. So they're going to begin the process of clearing this down, but they've got a lot of extensions to take care of first before they can even think about approaching that site. Victus have spread their wings quite wide here, as you folks can see here. Already one player inside of CCTV. And at least 1 to 2 more spread out over the office and archives area. So Rogue need to clear these out before they can think about approaching the lockers.
Yes, indeed. That's going to require a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to the info game border. Quite the small map, and it requires a lot of clearing and just info in order to start moving your way inside. Rogue is going to start positioning themselves around CCTV, just as Blue had said. A nice shot, though, from Zen to be able to take down one. At least for Rogue, though, we still have a couple of people to be able to play around this. Leon still with the strange positioning at the current moment. We'll have to figure out that a later moment. Actually, Evan is up here on the balcony. A little bit of a stronger position than I initially saw there. So Frag Grenades from underneath will be able to claim a life. Those Kanto is taking control of customs. Has to worry about a player upstairs, though. There is someone positioning around the drop.
Nice play from Flexi, though. He's going to be able to find out Leon as he tries to sneak his way in through CCTV, knocking him down, putting some control back into Victus's favor here now that they find that second kill. Rogue will have to hold up because of that, as that's also their case going down onto the ground. Thankfully, it doesn't look like Victus continue to maintain presence nearby, so it should be retrievable before our attackers, but they're not necessarily going to know that it's that easily retrievable. They do have to take a moment here to re-drone it. Oh, and dodge some nitro cells along the way. Cryan nearly falling victim to that, but now more than likely realizing that it is open for the retake, they'll be able to sneak in just a second, get control of their case going, and thankfully with still over a minute to play, Rogue will have plenty of time to try and course correct right now. What is Victus currently having control?
Victus will be able to maintain quite a few of the pivotal positions, especially around the office area. Still plenty of utility to play this space. They'll have some solid positioning around the site as well. Rogue trying to defer here, trying to see exactly where they can potentially push this through. I'll have a couple of cams around the area to worry about, I do believe, as well, as that was just a my disc above. But initial shots here from Radio. Impact out just to try and stave them off for a time. Nothing really going on for triple walls. Kanto will swing into office. He'll claim a life, but with 30 seconds remaining, they've only gotten themselves a 3 versus 3. Deepak is going to start shifting the play over towards where here, or rather box. This box has already been open. They'll be able to sledge this single panel. An attempted shot from Deepak, but Skeptic will take him down. Flexi on the supporting angle over from Archives as well. Kanto will have to swing inside. All in his lonesome now. Goes for the plant, but do they have the proper overwatch? They do not. It's a double M590 play, and that's going to be the first round going to Victus.
Yep, Victus shutting it down here, unfortunately, not able to clear out that interior site presence as we got into those dying moments of the round, so Rogue are going to falter there inside of the last 30-40 seconds or so, and Victus take the cake here for round number 1. A solid start to things, like we said, no real surprises there, just able to leverage their aggressive control properly against the clear from Rogue, put them down to the 3v4 where Rogue just fell a little bit short in terms of trying to be able to work that back. Working their way away from that site, though, of course, now we do need to see Victus extend their own defense prowess out from that second floor hold, and they're going to do so on the immediately below site, and we'll head over into ventilation for round number 2 as they attempt to chain both of these together here to get a solid lead built up at the beginning of our match.
Not the greatest of openers here for Rogue, as Kanto is really the only active member inside of that one. Everyone else kind of just jiving for position and being taken down by Victus systematically, especially after the initial pick that they were able to procure. But they really just were able to kind of abuse their position inside of office and kind of just strong arm their way into that office fight, or rather the hallway fight outside of the office. And past that, it just makes things way too difficult for Rogue. They have to try and recollect themselves, move over towards box wall, and that's just not the best positions to be in at that moment because you have to swing those close angles. And if somebody plays a shotgun like we saw there, it just makes things extremely, extremely hard. And we're going to see Victus just stay on the gas pedal here, Blue. Yizen's going to pick off Crying, and that's going to be quite the important one as well, as they allowed Valkyrie through the ban phase, and that's going to be the IQ off the board.
Yep, IQ gone, meaning spotting out the little bit more peculiarly placed Valkyrie cameras on the interior of this building are going to be probably impossible to spot, if not a little bit more difficult to do so. IZN also lined up here trying to stop the play through the CCTV window, nearly getting caught himself as he transitions back over here through the paper shelf. He's going to get spotted out by a drone one more time through his rotate back over into 90 hallway, but still sticking around, not completely giving up the fight just as of yet, although may need to do so soon with the nade presence coming in against him. As well, out and about trying to swing forward and really reassert the pressure against this position. It'll work out well, and Dapek will also be able to catch Skeptic, pushing this pressure even further back. So equalizes out things down to a 4 versus 4 as Rogue tries to get back some control over this matchup.
Coming down to a dull roar now. Kanto, though, with a pretty strong position inside of Customs, but as he knows someone's inside of Mini. That's the big thing right now. The small office right here having some presence. Well, to get rid of the Valkyrie camera, at least for the info, but obviously Oscar knows what's going on inside of this space as well. But as you get the audio cue, that mirror, or rather window, will end up messing with things a little bit, but after they break in the SMG-11 up close, will take him down, be able to claim space yet again here. Now Rogue will have to try and battle back, and Leon does this well. He does it handedly, as Deepak has to get back on camera, as they have time to be able to at least get some more information to influence their next move. Leon has one Selma charge, so all of these hatches are now locked up effectively, as you need 2 in order to open anything. They more than likely want to try and use this on a sidewall like the bathroom, but you can also try and go for a vents plant here. It's just going to require a little bit more on the lifting side, as Oscar is inside of a strong position here for supply. This run out is still effective to this day. It used to be really, really easy. Now with the 1 second timer, you have to go for those little short runs and be able to at least hold things down if they try and go for the front door, if they want to try and go for a potential plant with top cover.
Now, Flexi's position, I believe, was spotted on an earlier drone run, and he has not shifted it here. But despite that, it's looking like Rogue are potentially going to drop down right in between 2 of these players' positions, and indeed they will. They got a little bit of a staging ground to play with here, and there we go. There's the intel that they're playing off of. Beautifully shot by Leon to take down Flexi. The response coming in from Oscar, though, as he denies the plan and brings us down to a 1v1. We're not done with this round just yet with only 10 seconds remaining. Oscar has the chance to clutch, and he's going to take it as Victus go 2-0 to start off the match.
Staying active. That was the key to the play there. Shifting across from supply, he takes the member down on the server stack and then continues on into the rotate as Deepak's trying to flash things out of that main little waiting room area. Fantastic plays from Victus so far, just staying aggressive, playing off of each other quite well and making sure to maintain that man count. Very important facets to Siege when it comes down to it. I think we've learned our lesson, especially after this last major, haven't we, John, about just how important that is when it comes to taking those gunfights as a team.
Absolutely the case. And we can confirm, by the way, guys, that just in case anybody was curious about it, the 5th member of Rogue, that is Spoit, by the way. The one that starts with SCH. That is Spoit. So just in case anybody was curious about that, I was as well. Just wanted to confirm there wasn't some strange fill-in since Spoit had only just joined. But as far as we're aware, that is him. So just a different name.
Yeah, I was also a little confused initially. I was, getting into kind of the play-by-play moment.
That's why I didn't bring him up prior to this point.
Are you? It's like, this is one of the worst things about being a caster, I'm telling you, is like, I love when people get creative with their names, but sometimes when they really throw you for a spin, you're just like, is this the same guy? Like, I don't know who this is.
Might just have been one of those like weird things where like their previous fifth player now, like obviously didn't really need to play for them
Exactly,
anymore, but
exactly.
maybe Spoit couldn't play in this due to some weird roster rule. But no, from everything we've been told, that is Spoit down there in the fifth slot for Rogue. So in case anyone's confused, just a little clarification for you there. Bit of a rough start, obviously,
Thank
for
you,
him in this one, but it's only been 2
Detective Doctor Blue,
rounds.
by the way.
What's up?
I said, thank you, Detective Doctor Blue, by the way. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, so a little bit of a rough start for him. I believe 0-2 at the moment, but indeed, only 2 rounds into the game, so plenty of time to be able to spin that back on its heels as Rogues start to re-enter order here one more time for themselves, about halfway through our first half, of course, but they just can't seem to escape, even with drone presence, as we can see here now from Dapek, able to find out the position of YZN, but still not going to be able to do anything about it as Cryan falls early once again, this time on the Zophie at least, so a little bit less in terms of utility loss, but still not going to help in the long run here, as Victus is so far 0 for 2 on these openers and 0 for 2 on translating them into round wins as well.
Well, YZN is 3-0 on openers right now. He has 3 first bloods. Rogue not able to get a single round nor a single blood just yet. Only a couple of kills inside of the round, and that's just about it. Spunk on the move here. Spoit able to hold the angle in through Archive. Potentially a big frag coming here. As the F2 as well, the content creator gun, if I have ever seen one. He's holding things down. No one really feeling the aggressive play from Victus, though. Spunk now going for the more aggressive look here. He'll be able to claim Flexi. Goes for the move, but taken down by Skitey here. He'll be able to support his teammate, and the MX4 Storm eats Kanto alive. Leon has to try and battle back. His teammate's also been down. It's actually just effectively him alive at the moment until Deepak is back up. Be able to pick him up now, and they'll be able to at least use that tackle track to just with some info. Leon's immediately going to hop downstairs, but they got every facet of this map locked up. Oscar's playing metal. That's going to be case control here. Deepak, he's really got nothing to do at this point, Blue. It really just kill or be killed. I mean, he's a single bullet's worth of HP. This is not looking good.
Looking a little bit better for Rogue on the previous rounds, but this time just cannot get control over the early aggression from Victus in any way, shape, or form there. Just getting absolutely shut down by it, as you can see by the current situation here. Dapek just with no room to play with. Yeah, he's got a little bit over here by Customs Desk, but just a random swing from Skeptic is going to take him out through the barricade. Beautifully done here by Victus as they shut down the attack from Rogue and set up a very solid scoreline already. Only a quarter of the way into this matchup, a 3-0 lead against Rogue with a chance to guarantee an advantage with 1 or more additional rounds being claimed in this half.
This is already looking very strong for Victus. For Rogue, I really don't know what the next step is for them. It's not that they're really doing anything incorrectly, minus just these opening bloods that they can't seem to get past. The drone info's there. They're trying to take the map in at least a decisive manner, right? But it just seems as though Victus always has, the one up on them. And I really don't know exactly, what YZN has been able to accomplish in all of these different situations. But obviously we know it's all ended in a kill. I don't know if it's been like separate angles or exactly what has happened inside of these engagements, but it seems like time and time again, like he simply cannot miss. And it just is the rest of the team that's able to drive it home, as you can see. Like he's only been good for the opener. He either dies or gets an assist, and then the rest of the team takes over inside of that mid to late round and is able to get that round for Victus. So it's fantastic effort from him early on inside of these rounds to put Rogue at a disadvantage and make these things difficult.
Yeah, even just the initial opening kill, even though, as you mentioned there, it's not going much further beyond that. The even time delay that we're getting out of YZN's early frags here is certainly hurting Rogue in the long run here, just forcing them to take that step back, not being able to focus on their initial early clears and things such as that is definitely hurting Rogue's capability, and it seems to have been pushed to a pretty drastic state as of the previous round there, with more and more members of Victus kind of jumping into the fray after YZN's initial take for himself too. It just seems like they're getting more confident instead of less so. That's not a good sign for Rogue and their capability to figure out how to work their way through the web work of what Victus is bringing to the table right now. You can see Spoit starting things out, just going for a little bit of pre-fire into the jail positions. Won't find much from it as he pops open that bullet hole for himself and leaves room now for Kanto to swing open the panel itself, of course, with the hammer. So this will be the entry point for Spunk, and Now, after seeing these 3 rounds having been played out, Victus has, of course, moved upstairs, but it's looking like Rogue want to try to clear things a bit more quickly this time and try to establish at least more map control to potentially work against these extended positions. And so far, working out pretty well for Spoit here as he's able to move all the way into customs, and as well, finally, the opening kill translates itself back over to Rogue with Kanto finding Flexi in the opening seconds.
Very well done from Kanto here, and that's going to be a big pick as well as, well, my builds his discs up over time as they're able to catch out grenades and everything else in between. So now for Oscar, over here inside the jungle position, trying to hold things down from customs, has the potential of 2 targets that could swing into him at any moment, but he's steadfast here, just standing out in the middle of nothingness, practically in the ether. This is kind of just an off angle for him, so pretty solid position as long as somebody doesn't have a good reaction time. But when it comes down to Kanto, that's never something you want to trust, and he's going to let him by here. Have to back off of that. Doesn't want to give him a second look. Kanto will drone things out now just to rediscover customs and make sure things are clear for the bottom of metal. Doesn't want someone to work the stairwell again like we saw in the last round and get a big pick.
So a bit stuck here at the moment for Rogue, but thankfully they have ways to get themselves out of it relatively quickly. Emphasis on the drone work being placed in there for Rogue, and mainly for players like Cryan, of course, as they try to shift themselves forward. Leon will now start the use of the Selmas here. Going to run low pretty quickly as well as he tries to move himself forward. Unfortunately, everyone that tries to make a play on Rogue walks directly in. The defense is set up for Victus Skeptic with a slammer there, and he makes it too as well. A beautiful shutdown again from the interior site play. The early fraggers might have finally faltered here for Victus, but the late round play stays solid as a rock as they continue to decimate Rogue here with a 4-0 lead.
I mean, you got to give the SAS Shotty like the 3.0 side at that point. That thing it's reaching out there. That was a country mile all the way to box. Still took him down and claimed the 4-0 lead. Rogue just cannot seem to work off their initial ground they build up inside of these rounds. That's what we've seen inside of 3 of them. I mean, the third one was quite decisive, as we talked about, but this one, yet again, they're able to at least get a foothold, but they just don't know what to do with it. They allow Victus to do too much with the map, and it's more Victus just claiming full map control than it really is Rogue doing anything. Past is taking the gunfights that they get inside of these initial rooms. If Victus doesn't give them anything, then they reposition and usually end up dying because of that. So as of now, again, I really don't know what the next step is for Rogue. They're trying to make good on their info game. I think it really is that they just need to play off of each other better. It seems like we've had a lot of, disjointed 1v1s happening around the map where they've been punished time and time again, especially inside that last round. If you noticed, when we had that double there towards the tail end of the round, it happened on 2 different floors with 2 completely different gunfights, and in neither one of those positions was anybody close to refrag. So Rogue is just playing a little bit too loose right now, just allowing too much to go on. They need to play just a little bit more tight-knit, and I think things would go really well.
Devolved a little bit too quickly, I think, towards the end of that round. Also, they had those 2 players go down, and I guess an audible or at least a fallback was never called for as the rest of the team tried to execute normally into the site, but without those 2 additional players supporting from wherever their intended positions were going to be. It seemed like Rogue's attack was a shell of its former self, but no one called it off, so they had no choice but to continue forward with their plans here. Rogue going to see if they can course correct once again, and that's going to be a bit of an overstep there from YZN. You guys could see, obviously he could not. Rogue had already taken up plenty of positions out here on the west balcony. No chance for YZN to sneak one in there. He will be shut down outright, and Rogue will be gifted their opening kill. However, they will have to fight for everyone after that. Oscar already going to be able to trade this first one back with a well-placed Nitro cell against Kanto.
I already know the comms from DPEC there was, what the hell is this guy doing? Is he just shotguns the door 3 times and sprints onto the balcony? Some of the most aggressive play, something you'd see commonly inside of Siege, but never something you exactly expect, and that's why he was trying to catch people off guard right there. Kind of a sneaky play, but either way, Victus are still able to equalize and go even further as they claim the man advantage yet again. Leon goes down. The only hard breach out the window. Skeptic gets crying. Deep Pink and the new kid on the block. Spoit have to try and clutch things up, otherwise this is a 5-0 score line.
Spoit does have good positional intel, as you can see with some of those pre-fire positions being lined up, and he just got intel on another one as well. So he should have absolute right to engage here, but can only tag the one. very well shot regardless against Skitty, but the second player does escape down through a hatch, so not going to be able to immediately reclaim that. And what would have tied up the player advantage too at a 2v2. They're going to have to hold off on that and work a little bit harder for it down below. Victus even giving respect to that with those players backing away, but not necessarily going to help them. One of the three remaining members of Victus going to get spotted out here by Dapex. Foot scanner will kind of prompt the push from Spoit as well. He's able to hop down through the hatch, knows it's open on the inside of here. He'll get hit by an enemy Twitch drone as well. Oscar managed to steal one of those away. So a bit of an annoyance there, but shouldn't slow things down too tremendously here.
I have loved everything that we've seen inside of Gamers Without Borders today, and I hope that it continues because, again, we have a potential of 9 maps, and when we're swinging like this, I mean, we'll have endless energy for the day. Flexi, he'll take down Deepex. Spoit, give me some action here. It's a 1 versus 2. You have the F2. Give us something. Initial missed shots, bouncing back, and he'll claim 1, but he can't get the second. Runs out of bullets inside of that murder machine, and the Commando will get it done.
Oscar has to bait his teammate a little bit there in order to get the job done, but under those circumstances, it works out. Spoit, certainly a player to fear there, as you can see the way he's managing those final gunfights. Victus, more than anything, trying to waste the time away rather than find a winning angle inside of that engagement. But either way, it works into their favor as they continue to single-handedly crush Rogue's attacking side. 5-0, a flawless. If Victus can complete the rotation one more time with a final Teller's defense here to lock it in what would be a 6-0 scoreline versus this new Rogue.
All right, everyone, put on your safari hats. We're going into the jungle, and by jungle, I mean what professional scrims look like whenever people start to change things up. There's a lot of things that can potentially go wrong. You really don't know how people are going to feel playing with each other. There's a lot of feeling things out. And the big thing is like, yeah, they've been scrimming for a while, but this stuff takes a very long time, especially in a game like Siege. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of little mannerisms that you don't even know that somebody else could potentially have. You're like, well, I didn't know you were going to do that. They're like, well, that's what I do. You know what I mean? So, like, there's so many different things that they have to be considering all at this moment. And the thing is that they're not playing bad. I think the big thing is that Victus is playing very, very well. And Rogue are just being beat in the current moment, which is perfectly fine. You know, Victus, they have some time under their belt. This team is definitely feeling themselves. And like we were talking about before, they've played off of each other quite well in a lot of these situations. And Rogue are still just getting to that point where they're, you know, feeling that mesh, where they're, you know, hitting their hot streak. So I don't think that this is anything where in the future you can be like, oh, you know, Rogue just aren't looking hot because of what we saw at Gamers Without Borders. But you can definitely say Victus are not a slouch of the team.
No, absolutely the case here. Victus showing up ready to play today, ready to prove themselves more than anything. And I would say even just by this map, they have certainly done it. But thankfully for them and for Rogue, it's not only just going to be this map. Still need to see Victus claim a second one in this series as well. And that's still assuming that they managed to tear their way through the rest of this map. Also, with that pre-fire, nearly lining itself up just a little bit off the marker.
Barricade.
And, yep, thankfully there's a castle barricade in the way, so it would have eaten up all those bullets anyway. The nade going to fall a little bit short also, so the attempt to get rid of it doesn't work. Kanto getting hit with a full damage Pokeball from down below. Really well placed from Weber through that on Victus, but he's still not going to get the kill, unfortunately, as he's a little bit too high HP.
Oscar, I'm loving this guy's gameplay so far, whoever, because this has been so amazing to witness. It's like they're constantly just trying to take gunfights after gunfights, and like the Twitch drone that we saw last round, and now impacts from underneath. Doesn't even the nitro cell. Straight up just impacts as they're coming up the stairwell. Oscar here. Oh, Kanto, what a shot, as he'll be able to take down 2. Oscar and Skeptic can't make it through. Skydie will go down. This is finally looking like Rogue can potentially get around here. Spoit will be able to nade out the window. And, well, here, this moment, not too much more to do. Just some info to claim, and they'll be able to at least find Flexi upstairs. He'll have to drop, but is there anybody awaiting him downstairs around customs?
Overall, Rogue able to get much better informational kind of pre-play set up for themselves this time to be able to line up those kills, especially from Kanto's POV, really capitalizing on the over-aggression from Victus we've been seeing these past few rounds. Rogue never seeming to get a handle on up until this point, but now finally, the tides are turning the other way as Flexi is left alone here. He's no slouch for this either. Already halfway there as he's taken down 2 out of the 4 remaining players. Considering he got the initial kill as well, this would be an outright ace if Flexi's able to go for it, but going to begin to run out of time here. 30 seconds to go, about 15 to get himself onto that case realistically, but he will not reach that point. Kanto with a solid headshot shuts down the clutch attempt here with his personal 3rd kill on the round, and finally, after 5 straight, we get a round on the board from Victus.
That was a very, very gross shot there from Kanto. That was honestly like assault. That was not okay. Like, he just stands up, one singular bullet to that guy as he crosses, and incredible stuff there. But armory lockers now for Rogue, as we'll be switching sides. They've luckily gotten themselves a singular round, so therefore, Victus cannot just take this out right immediately. They can at least make a mistake, but they need to start off quite strong here. This is where things could potentially go awry, because Cryan and Spoit have not really had the hottest of starts, but the good news is that it's a new dawn. It's a new day. We're on the second half. You know, kind of have, fresh clothes. It just feels good. So we'll hopefully see them try and get back into the saddle and see what they can possibly get done on this side. But as for Victus, I mean, they're firing on all cylinders. The lowest amount of kills on this team at this moment is, I mean, tied between Skydie and YZN, and YZN got 3 openers with his 4th kill coming later. So, I mean, having half of the opening bloods for your team and that kind of a scoreline, I think I would take that.
Certainly a team-based affair for Victus. As soon as you look past Oscar, obviously he's been getting the lion's share of the contributions, especially inside of these kind of mid-round plays. He's been making up the difference, making sure that Victus stays in control in quite a few of these engagements, but not entirely on him here. And I think that will potentially change up to a much bigger extent now that we move over to the attacking side. I think you were mentioning somewhat of the same thing with regards to Rogue and how we might see some of the guys like Spoit come into a bit of a better position here in the second half. I'm curious to see so as well. And I don't think we're going to have to wait too long to get an answer on that either. Potential duel already building itself up as these 2 players from Victus try to work their way in through Passport. They are going to be able to go in without contest as a member of Rogue backs away, chooses not to contest here, and wants to waste away time instead. So Victus will get their first staging ground going, but as we mentioned on the first round of the last half, a lot more work to be done here for Victus before they can even think about approaching the site.
Pretty interesting grenade there as well. We'll probably see that one used in the future. We just haven't exactly seen somebody throw it just yet, Blue. But if you throw that frag grenade through the little window on Passport and get on top of the ventilation shaft there, it will actually blow up that single panel inside of the main hallway that a lot of teams like to play in order to hold down the windows for like balcony and east and everything. They'll open up the walls, but they'll reinforce that singular panel. You know what I'm talking about? That grenade lands directly under that person. So that is a pretty nasty nade spot there from Skydie, but unfortunately, obviously no one playing around that area. Rogue has been able to maintain their man count, so no one dying just yet. Skydie shifting back and forth on the angles, a potential for a nitro cell from underneath, and it will deliver as Deepak has the 2-day shipping. Skydie has the drone in now, but doesn't want to go too far with it just yet. Actually just hitting buttons a little bit too hard here, so they'll be able to get back onto that camera. They've also found some info over inside of CCTV. This is looking like a one-man effort, though, at the current moment, as quite a few Victus members are over towards this east side.
It'll work,
actually,
though.
in fact, 2 members here, and yes, YZN will get 1. Flexi actually on the break door, so they'll claim a few lives, and oh no, is this where it all falls apart for Rogue?
We're going to be very careful with their footing here. We've got still quite a few members exposed out. Such as Spoit with a bad timing play right there as well. A member of Victus walking right past his crosshair, but he was still shifting POVs. Was not going to be prepared to catch that here. Time is starting to get a little bit low, and Rogue has caught on to this big rotation from Victus to go almost entirely, in fact, yeah, entirely over here towards the office push. So as long as they're set up to stop that, this should go handily into Rogue's favor with the limited time left here. But Victus have one final trick up their sleeve. Looks like they are going to try to get this hard breach down with the can opener in order to let them to the back of the A chassis and go for a plant there. I don't believe Rogue have anyone downstairs, but still, the plant attempt will be stopped. The initial one, that is. They'll try to get it back down onto the ground. Oscar going to sprint himself into Fountain to try and find Dapek and the others, but it's such a chaotic run. The plant attempt does go down one final time, but here comes Spoit on the rotate to try and deny it. He can't do it, though. Oscar gets the final kill instead, and Victus get themselves up on map point.
Oscar is one of the nastiest players I've seen in a little bit. That is just incredible. The audio recognition that he had there for him pushing inside of office, the pre-fire in his single panel, fantastic decision making, decisive in a lot of things that he's doing. And I mean, also whilst having a lot of fun as well. I mean, I'm still having flashbacks of that Twitch drone moment inside of customs of him just zapping him while just, driving through everything with the drone that he stole as Mozzie. Like, that's potentially one of the funniest things I've seen in the last month. But I mean, Victus just showing Rogue what Border really is about. And it's about that team play and just going for it at the end of the day, playing quite close, playing for those gunfights and finding quite a lot. I mean, you saw especially how Victus were able to shift things over to CCTV. And initially, like, it looked like YZM was by himself, but eventually we see Flexi over there as well, just holding the door down. And it worked out extremely well for Victus because they find the isolated gunfight. That's the big thing. They isolated a Rogue member. He's by himself. There's nothing he can do inside of CCTV on his lonesome in that situation, and they abuse him because of that. So it was just a very, strong identification of what was going on inside of that situation that really propelled Victus to take that round.
So Victus already getting themselves prepared to start this series off with a surprise victory for themselves here, taking away, as a quick reminder, Rogue's own map pick to go to Border here. Victus is about to steal it 7-1 if they can conclude one final round. They're going to get a little bit nervous of a potential run out here, so you'll see one of the track stingers go down quite early from Flexi. Thankfully, she's got 4 of those to throw down onto the ground at any point during this round, so still plenty of that utility to be deployed at a later point, because they want to make sure that Rogue don't try anything too drastic here. They're trying to change up their own fate and start a bit of a comeback train of their own, as Rogue now need 5 in a row just to trigger overtime.
Yes, indeed. And now, like this, trying to play things initially slow here. Not necessarily a bad thing, as it's always strong to get this early information. You want to be decisive about what you're doing and at least recognize out the initial positions here. But unfortunately, Spoit won't be able to get away with one, punishing YZN for his earlier efforts on their defensive side and firing back with a opening kill of his own. Victus now, though, on the back foot doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to slow down. You can see the drone economy starting to get punished a little bit, but still have some info to be gathered. About halfway through the round now, they're starting to make some space around the top of East and continue to try and just work the balcony on the outside. They have some track stingers out here, just looking to see if any of the Rogue members want to potentially get aggressive and try and give them that equalizer, but Rogue is going to play this quite passively at the current moment.
Yeah, and there's no reason not to at this point for Rogue either. They've got the player advantage. As you brought attention to a few seconds ago, the drone economy for Victus is desperate right now. They're realistically going to need all 3 of those drones just to figure out where the remaining players are, and that doesn't necessarily count. Thankfully, all 3 of the active drones are alive players. We don't have to worry about any of them being dead and immovable on YZN, but still, they've got to be so careful with how they use these here, as all 5 players from Rogue have fallen back into the site, which means more than likely they don't necessarily have drone intel. All right, so there's one more drone going 2 left past this point, and they only really found out where 1 or 2 players are, so they need to get a kill from this. 1-for-1's not great here for Victus, but at least it's a start as they try to move themselves forward here. Still with 2 drones in pocket, and oh no, a surprise from Leon up on top. Oscar does try to keep the numbers in check, but Kanto as well there with the Bailiff getting a trade for it. Leaves only Oscar in this fight. A 1v3 set before him. He knows he's got at least 1 in the bathroom, but wasn't expecting the immediate re-swing from Spoit there. He shuts it down in one of the most definitive rounds from Rogue we've seen yet.
Fantastic round from Rogue. And again, I just want to go back to the recognition of the situation like you were talking about with the passive play. They get that initial pick, and Victus slow down and grind to a halt. I think a big thing that we need to notate as well is the drone economy and just how punished that was. And drone economy is a lot easier to manage nowadays when it comes to Siege, especially on the defensive side, obviously, because when your drone or when you destroy the opposing team's drones, it literally gives you a counter of how many drones your team has destroyed. So at any moment in time, you kind of have a sense of what you can and can't do across the map with how many drones they have, right? If they have 8 drones and there's, a minute left, you probably don't want to go for a flank. But if, it's a minute left and they have 2 drones, maybe you do. And that's exactly what worked out for Rogue there. They just were very, very steadfast about what they wanted to do after that initial pick, and they abused the fact that they had the information on the drone economy to influence what they wanted to do with the later round. That late rotation came in all because of that. If not, Kanto would more than likely just hold a cross angle somewhere else. I think that was just very, very well done from them overall.
So Victus finally having their strategy figured out to a pretty reasonable extent is actually going to limit them coming into this next round here. They do have 4 more opportunities, so they're not in a bad spot in any sense just yet here. But Rogue seemingly has found the winning formula, just needs to repeat it and get the good result out of it a few more times here, and they may very well be back into this map, back into this series as well, as they still try to claim their own opening map as well as just the opening map overall of this series. For Victus, it's going to start primarily from that front door entry point. It looks like a lot of the drone presence being shifted over towards that. We'll see how they manage the drone presence this time, because that was a very big reason as to why they couldn't reasonably get themselves into tellers last round there, just due to a lack of intel and having to try and go for a bunch of heads-up peaks that obviously do not work out in your favor on the attacking side of Siege unless you have that drone intel.
Oscar with the quick moves now, though, through jail. We'll be joined by Skydie, who hopped inside of Supply. Cryan. Oh, Cryan has no idea that there's 2 people right to the right of him.
Bro.
Oh, some gunplay back and forth. But oh, Cryan, you can't sprint there. Skydie's going to take him down as he swings the Supply door. Victus with a big pick here after Cryan goes rogue, literally.
That's actually a serious misplay. I'm pretty sure Victus hadn't even spotted Cryan deeper into
no
deeper
idea
into
he was there.
Or tellers here either. Yeah, they had no idea that he was there. So he had completely free right to go back in and shut down both of these players inside of the closet. But apparently he had no idea that either of them had gotten that far into the building either. So a misplay on both ends turns it into a bit of a chaotic fight, but it plays very heavily into the favor of Victus now, giving them the free 5v4. Someone else is going to have to step up, but it may need to be Kanto here inside of tellers. If a drone is not able to spot him out, this could be another surprise position that'll be very useful against Victus in the late round, especially if he's able to sneak his way back up through East Main at some later point here.
Well, yet again, we have a slower round, but as soon as I have the thought, Skeptic will rip it away from me. Leon Gids will go down, and Victus looking to close out border early here. Potentially giving us an early day, John. I might be able to schedule dinner with my fiance. I don't really know. We'll have to find out here.
They just
Victus and Rogue. I mean, hey, we'll have to find out, man. I mean, there's some nice restaurants around Dallas. We can get it figured out. We'll see if Victus can help me out here. As they're just taking it to Rogue in the current moment. Kanto is trying and swing for the front door. He's been feeling himself today, and damn it, I love to see this man play. We'll be able to take down yet another outside. Has 2 inside of customs to worry about, or rather CCTV. Goes for this swing up top, and actually multiple. Not even the fact of 2, it's actually 4 as they have more on the balcony. Zian will be able to shut him down, has the flank hold, and Deepek and Spoit or Spunk at the current moment trying to hold things down for these last 15 seconds is, well, that's not going to go too well. It's a good half in Chad, and this best of 3 is off with a Victus victory.
Yeah, Victus getting themselves off to a booming start at 7-2. A few very small slip-ups here inside of their strategy, which they both times immediately corrected on the following round. Very impressive stuff coming out from Victus. And that will mean they take a very solid win to start this series off. Not going to be finished just yet, of course, with the series. We still have our final 2 maps to play into. And the next one's going to be Chalet, ladies and gentlemen. So stick around. We're going to go to a short break. And then when we do return, we'll have that map ready to go. And we'll see if Victus will be able to continue their tear through this tournament bracket here by taking down Rogue outright in 2-0 fashion, or if Rogue will bounce it back and send us to our 3rd and final map. Stick with us, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Gamers Without Borders qualification event. Currently working on our European bracket right now, though we'll be drifting into our other regions as the day moves on as well. My name is Blue. Joining me here on the broadcast is Stokes. We're already one map deep in our first series of the day here between Rogue and Victus. Victus surprising us not only with an outright win on our first map, but a definitive one as well at 7-2 on Border here. So going to be giving Rogue quite the challenge as we move into our second map, which is going to be Victus's own map pick of Chalet. Spoit as well, jumping into it. A little bit of a rough go of it, I think, for Spoit's first game on Rogue there, especially in the first half. But as you were mentioning, just as we went to break there, Stokes, once he got into the second half, he was looking a little bit more confident. I think Rogue overall was kind of getting into the swing of things there as we got deeper into that map, but it was just a little too late there.
Yeah, I think your usage of words there actually tells the tale really well, John. It's the swing of things that really wins Victus the game, as they really swung not only through the whole map, but as a team. And that's really what we drove home during that matchup, is that they did a very good job of capitalizing on the situations that they were given and always maintaining their man advantage whenever they were able to procure it. It was very well done. I think really the only round that we saw them have a lot of trouble with was kind of the defensive round that they lost. It wasn't necessarily too bad of one, but the offensive round, they definitely got picked apart trying to come into tellers, where Rogue were finally able to get one over on them with a very nice flank done from Kanto up towards the top of square. And I mean, from that point, things just a little bit too difficult. But now we have map 2 already ready for you guys. It's going to be an exciting one. As we already talked about, it's going to be Chalet, which has kind of a very similar tone to it, like Border, not in the sense of really what you're doing strategy-wise, but in the sense of play style. You're still going to have some very aggressive plays around the map, but it's going to be more cookie-cutter Siege, where it's a lot more, cross angles and hard breach and a lot of other things instead of, get in building, find person, shoot person.
To go back to your point about Victus, I think the really important thing we saw in the 2 rounds they did lose was pretty much an immediate adjustment in the following round. Never, fell up to those same problems twice, even when it came to things like the drone game on the attack. They're overusing it in the 1 round, disabling their ability to get into tellers, pretty much immediately course-correcting that on the following round, being a lot more careful with that drone presence and making sure that they actually used the drone presence to immediately follow it up with some type of entry play. It seemed like a lot of the time as well there. So really good stuff from Victus. I'm curious to see if they can keep up with as impressive of a style of play here on our second map. I would assume so, since it is going to be their own map pick. We have to wait and see as Rogue, I'm certain, is going to be awakened after that first map also, and they'll be wanting to take this one maybe a bit more seriously, as they're potentially facing off against a lower bracket run if they don't turn it around on this map. Either way, already through most of the bans here. No huge surprises coming up from it, and Victus, unfortunately, continuing to be a member of the anti-fun team today, it seems. They do not want Asami in play. Serious note, totally respectable considering that she's been thrusted into this one, and she can have a very powerful amount of impact if left out of the ban pool. So it makes perfect sense as to why they do not want to see her, at least in these matchups.
Yeah, I think past that, it's also just a strategical thing. Somebody is gonna more than likely, try and use it, or like if it is in play, then they're more than likely going to be prompted to use it, and you don't exactly want to show things until things are at its maximum value. And I think that's pretty smart for both of these teams. Just taking things away, not really wanting to deal with the operator, or just not really wanting to show some of what they're doing themselves for the future. So not necessarily a bad thing, but it definitely takes some of the fun out of it for you and me.
Yep. All good, though. Hopefully we'll be able to see her in one of our matches over on the main stream if we haven't seen her already, or in one of the ones here on this stream a little bit later today. If those you didn't catch it in game, by the way, I did have a disconnect from Daypack, so we're just working on getting him back in really quickly before we resume play. So give us just a second. We will be going live with that. But yeah, no huge surprises except for that Azami ban. But again, even considering the circumstances, making perfect sense from our ban phase. So it is setting us up for what I will say is going to end up, as you were mentioning there too, probably be a pretty straightforward game of Chalet here. Shouldn't be any crazy things that are going to have to pop out due to the way the band's shaped up, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a little bit more straightforward than Border is. Well, actually, I take that back. Border is quite a straightforward map. But, Chalet is just one of those things where it's straightforward in the sense of like how Siege normally plays out. You have your hard breaches, you have your flexes, all these kind of things. Border is kind of it's more gunfight-esque, right? Like, you really only have that one hard breacher to try and get some potential walls, but past that, you're not really looking into it too deep unless you want to pick up, like, Ace. But he has the AK-12, so he basically frags people anyways, right? So, either way, though, getting back into
Shove
things and
YZN.
a plug from YZN, we're gonna kick things off here on Chalet.
YZN making sure he gets his impressions for the day there. We go ahead and give him a follow, folks, as we get ready to jump into this team's second map. But moving forward here, we'll continue to see how Rogue try to counter out the advantages Victus were able to find in map number 1 here. And is going to give us a pretty much expected lineup here, too, for the basement hold. It is going to be interesting to see, more importantly, how the Warden works out here. We've been seeing the Warden slowly work his way more and more to these types of sort of bunker lineups or these bunker sites where teams are going to get reduced to like one corner of the map by the time the round comes to a close. And Warden can work out very well inside of those types of scenarios, whether it's a basement site on multiple maps or a few others as well that tend to kind of play out that way.
All right, well, past that, Rogue are out and about now here, starting from the lakeside spawn as they'll approach the building from the west. Have to deal with a couple of things around Mudroom. You can see the player down here for the bottom of blue. Have some more upstairs still, but obviously Rogue have no influence over that situation just yet. Skeptic's going to be coming back down blue. And overall, Victus really trying to stay with the playstyle that they had previously. Skydie's going to be on more of a lone man mission on the top floor. This lone soul trying to work out this roam game and delay as long as possible. Looks like we have YZN all the way over in Big Garage as well, potentially, though Garage panel already opened here as well. And this is kind of a new adaptation that we've seen recently for chalets, is where a lot of people will open up that single panel here on the garage instead of reinforcing it. And just put a deployable shield there so you can actually play some better angles for the garage door fights. But as you can see, that actually plays into the hand of Spoit, as he'll be able to claim a life for the very first time here on Chalet.
Skydie going down first off here, so that'll be the Malusi falling first inside of the game. Not going to be losing too much on the utility side of things, thankfully, as the Banshees are pre-deployed at the beginning of the round, but still, in the long run, certainly would have been able to use that player. And just overall, Victus did seem to play off quite well from the 5v4 advantages they were able to get for themselves back on border. Gonna have to work a little bit harder to try and maintain a player advantage here in this round, but it seems as though not too hard, as they're able to trade back at least one, but still gonna keep themselves behind as Spoit strikes for a second kill as well. 2-0 so far on this round, bringing it down to YZ and Oscar, and okay, never mind. Oscar as well as Flexi both immediately eliminated there as I was mentioning it, leaving YZN on his lonesome in a 1v4. He's able to strike back and take Ryan out of the fight, but can he go any further than that? This next kill, it's a difficult one, as you can see, having so much trouble trying to line up that headshot. Dapik in the meanwhile, laying down the diffuser in the mid site while this is going on. He's going to be able to secure that. YZN can't take out Dapik, and he'll instead get the final kill of the round for Rogue as they get off to a booming start here on Chalet.
A solid start and a strong finish for round 1 from Rogue. Victus can't battle back from the initial pick that goes down in Garage, and Rogue simply strong-armed the situation. Really nothing past that as they continue to fight onward into the site and get the plant down right inside of the wall that they'd previously blown up inside of the opening minute, which is a feat in and of itself on a map like Chalet. That is usually the first thing to go, but there is a little back and forth, tends to be at least. So past that, Victus now have to try something new here. They're going to try and go to Games Bar, and we'll have to see how this will work out. We're going to be bringing the Mira, and this one's pretty obvious. It's going to go upstairs for the library hold, just to make things a little bit easier. Also, they usually end up applying one down here inside of the bar stock area. Now, the big thing is, what do they do with the single panel here for the stairwell? We see some teams open up the bottom of it, but I don't think it's the best when you do play things here inside of the stock area with the Mira. Usually a better idea to reinforce that up. They already got the single panel upstairs set up for Skeptic as well. So things looking fairly straightforward for this one.
Indeed, indeed. So Rogue looking to finally continue to repeat their success after struggling to find it on our previous map here. Victus, even inside of the operator department, not going to be throwing us too many curveballs, even falling down to the kind of quintessential Frost pick, which is not something we used to say very often about Frost, but for quite a few sites, she is very much a go-to operator now, and this one is no exception. At least one site onto Theme Park as well has become quite a comfortable place to pick into her We're starting to see more and more of those kind of niche site operators show up, and for this round, He's going to be on the perfect one to deploy here. So Rogue will have to be cautious of that as they try to hop into a few of these windows. Just going to force them to, more than anything, look down at their feet. Not going to mess up a gunfight or two if someone from Victus is going to be ready to challenge it on the other side. Usually, though, if the attackers are paying attention, they will make sure that that player is cleared out before that entry needs to be made here. Still seeing just the kind of opening fidgets from Rogue as they try to make sure that there's no traps laid for them on their initial entry points. And finally, you can see Kanto and a few other members of the team starting to work their first bits into the building.
Well, Spoit slamming a new magazine inside of the 100. LMG here for Finka, as per usual, has been for quite some time at the current moment, as has been the meta of Siege. Oscar and the rest of Victus holding things down continuously, though. They've built this defense up around the library area, and they're not giving up a single inch, as they simply won't peek. There'll be a drone to burn out the laser gate. Not necessarily the best thing, but it's a value system here. As you can see, Spoit still has 2 frag grenades. Those are worth a little bit more than a drone in the current situation, so they'll hold on to those instead. As a frag grenade now, potential to strike, and she's going to pin it again, throws it in, and knows that a Womidus is going to be around the area. This one's going to blow up, knows someone's around the stairwell, but can't kill him, and it's going to be YZM with a 2K, and now Spoit has to try and claim him, but he's going to be too slow as he hops off of Ego and just can't get it done on the fireplace door.
Yeah, Spoit, unfortunately, a little too preoccupied with trying to knock out those magnets, throwing both of his nades into it. Was hoping, I think, the second one would have landed on top of a player there, but just got surprised by the fact that there was still that utility. So unfortunately allows YZN to not only escape, but claim yet another kill from his new position. That's going to take down Leon, leaving just Dapek. Going to have to try and clutch this out to a big extent. He was the one that shut down the previous round for his team, but now going to need a 1v5 to keep Rogue in complete. Already with a 1-0 lead, but more than likely going to end up going 1-for-1 unless we see some true heroics come out from Dapek here to clutch this round for the Rogue squad. And yeah, it's not going to happen. Oscar trades it out after Dapek's able to get one, and that will indeed be a tied scoreline now at 1 apiece for both of our teams.
That's incredibly unfortunate for Rogue, but Victus with a incredible round from start to finish, playing their strategy accordingly. I mean, it went extremely well right from the start. Rogue just really not able to do too much, especially when it came to the top floor. Victus continually able to hold on to things. You could see Spoit, really flustered with the situation at hand because he can't catch YZN initially. Too late to the rotation of the bottom door as well, and he'd already gotten away with too much. And really, the answer was to get the kill there. But unfortunately for them, they just weren't able to fire back, and that lets Victus play out the rest of the situation with such a strong man advantage that they practically can't lose. And that's exactly what they do with that situation. They continue to, take these gunfights and claim Rogue bodies time and time again off of those, strong positions that they've built up across the map. And that's what's going to get them the first round. So well done from them. Rogue just not really able to get anything done with that library hold or really anything around that southwest side of the map.
So Rogue seems to still be running into a few issues here inside of the second map of this series, but Victus as well, not having the cleanest clear or cleanest defense so far inside of it either. They're going to be looking to improve upon that, and we're going to be looking to bring in Hoden, you could say, their own attacking strategy here, as they once again look to try and get some quick control to themselves, mainly over by the side entrance here that Spoit's going to work on. Not necessarily with the confidence to swing directly towards it yet, and you might be able to tell why. There's quite a few silhouettes from Victus around the corner here, so he wants to be careful, make sure there's not an immediate repeat from someone as he tries to take this control. Is allowed into it, however, and this is a deep insertion point for this early on in the round. If Victus rotate the wrong direction, they're going to be able to catch him early, but no, never mind. It is once again a member of Victus, this time Oscar, that catches the opening kill. Dapek, the first to fall, and that's also going to be at least half the soft breach gone from Rogue 2. Thankfully, they did bring a backup in Kanto, though, on the sledge. They just have to hope now they don't necessarily need to take anything down from below, and Oscar is going to have to hope that his teammates can pick up the rest of the slack. That was Crying will delete him with a very well-placed nade.
Well, Spoit will start mushing up blue stairs here. This area is cleared out, but still has to worry about potential bodies inside of Piano. Kanto will be here to assist as well, and with Leon here on the tail end on the hard breach inside of the area, so they'll more than likely be getting this office open here momentarily as Spoit will assume the position inside on Ego balcony. Will be blown open now. 2 frag grenades still to the kid's name. Also has 2 of the adrenal surges still to assist his teammates and buff them inside of these fights. Big thing is now, though, they need to deliver when it comes to these last drones, and that's why you see Spoit claiming these now. He's still got 2. In fact, he's got the most on the team at the current moment. As well, the other drone only on Cryan, and past that, Deepak has the other one, and he is dead. So unfortunate that situation here. But past that, they'll be able to at least get some info as to what's going on site. But yet again, Victus playing this situation quite handedly.
Victus in charge of things for the time being here, although they do have still quite a bit of a roam game set up down on the first floor. Rogue could potentially pinch that out. Obviously, they have to be careful of utility being thrown at them from down below. Not sure how many nitros we still have available, and in fact, it looks like actually both of them have potentially already been deployed towards you. So not going to be able to rely on that. Cryan as well, though, making up a big difference right now. Got the first trade and both of these entries going for Rogue here. So finally has turned the numbers advantage back into Rogue's favor here. Opened up a plant opportunity and is going to continue to wreak havoc as well. Victus just did not seemingly have a plan to be able to work back against this repel play. So Cryan, along with the final position here out on Ego, is going to be able to take control of things for Rogue as they strike back now and get a second round of their own.
All right, well, Rogue's starting to warm up here, and funny enough, we do have Cryan spawning next to campfires, so kind of a thing. But past that, Master Bedroom Office will be the next pickup here for Victus, is just assuming this will be a little bit of a stronger position for them. They are also going to bring the Mira as well, so we could see an extension here. That's what I'm assuming. You really don't tend to see these Black Mirrors used on site, so more than likely going to be holding things down around library, I would assume. As for Victus, though, they have a plethora of frag grenades, and not only that, but they also have Deepak on the buck. So there is also some potential to have them try and take in from the north side, like go kitchen, start trying to get some frag grenades working underneath with that skeleton key to open up some of these angles and make it really difficult to play around office as well as master bedroom. And if they can get some of the crosses over here, they could potentially go for a plant. So we'll have to see what they really want to do. They're actually going to drop Deepak off of the buck here. They're going to pick up the Dokkaebi instead. So we'll have to see what they can do with this deck of cards now.
Here comes Rogue as they have indeed spawned out here. Expect that same first minute or so of play as they try to move in and take control of the bar area on the first floor, as well as the second floor hold for library here to act as this team's staging ground to work their way into the building. We can already see Kanto and Cryan beginning to work on that with a few other players roaming in the nearby surrounding areas. Spoit being one of those here. So not much in terms of counter reaction showing up on the Victus side of things. Obviously, they're going to have some presence inside of a library. They're going to shift that even more so up the stairs. And actually, these rotations work out quite well. I think it puts YZN directly in the face of Spoit's entry over by the side door. Beautifully played again in the opening moments here from Victus. And they're not going to be able to cull those players back a little bit, but I don't know if they necessarily want to here. This team really wants to keep their foot on the gas pedal when they have the right to do so from the aggression perspective. So they're indeed doing that, continuing to maintain this library presence here since we're so early on in the round. They've already got the player advantage. They're going to try to push the envelope just a little bit further here.
Well, Rogue not really trying to make a move at the current moment. Looking towards library, but I mean, past that, everyone's just stuck in the mud. We're going to have some drones finally going in, but they're just bleeding their timer right now. Not exactly the best situation for Rogue. Need to get active, and that's why Kanto's starting to move forward. Doesn't know somebody's on that mirror, but it's ghost pressure. That's what you can kind of look at as it like, because he doesn't know if somebody's standing behind that unless they've droned it out, but that's more than likely why he is in the current position that he's in. No one would obviously be or rather, someone would definitely be swinging the door in this situation if he was here. So they more than likely have a drone around the space, and that's exactly what Deepak was doing. So big job there from Rogue to start moving some of these more frag-heavy members forward. YZN, though, he's on the long con all the way downstairs, and so is Skydie. He's still inside of kitchen, and not only that, he's opening up so many areas to try and prevent plant spots, I'm assuming, from inside of kitchen for the A-bomb site. Now Deepak as well. I believe he's going to try and get on the Master Repel here. This is a really strong position to have, especially with these DMRs. And potentially shut down Oscar's angle, which is a pretty influential one at that.
Deepak with some great drone intel coming out here. Does the exact position of Oscar deeper inside of the site, and they're going to use it beautifully. Immediately, he goes down when Kanto is ready to execute. That's a lot of bodies from Rogue right now surrounding the site. We already saw on a previous attempt how Kryan was able to utilize Deepak's position and just absolutely decimate the defensive setup from Victus, and the very same thing could happen here on this round. They need a counter for it, but once again, Deepak is allowed to have free reign from that repel. Starting down with taking out Flexi. Here's the problem, though. The deeper site players, such as Skeptic, are holding on. Skeptic at low HP, able to take another gunfight towards the end. And on top of the final kill, taking down the repelled player, they hold on regardless of the previous hold's results. And Victus take yet another round for themselves here to tie us up again, now at 2-2.
Rogue try so hard to reinforce themselves with their offensive play, trying to gather more info, get another pick, and then go for the big explosive play at the end. But Victus is good for it. A nitro cell and 2 SMG-11 frags is all it takes. We've got a 2-2 scoreline. Not only that, Chalet, though, does indeed tend to be a Fender's side in a lot of different situations, and this could potentially be a big issue here for Rogue if Victus are allowed to continue to claim ground.
Rogue will look to make up for their mistakes. Deepak potentially throwing us an interesting one, and you can see the same for Spoit here. Now, Spoit's pick's a little bit more expected, but Deepak and Kryan here might be going a little bit off into unfamiliar territory. This will be fun to see regardless. The whole roster shaken up now for Rogue here to try and do something a little bit different. Obviously going to be seeing the Ara hook come in for Kryan. That'll be the part we pay attention to the most if we try to see a surprise hop-in show up from him and potentially anyone else on this roster. But Deepak also bringing the Candelas into play could make this a pretty interesting one from Rogue if they're able to fully form whatever they're thinking about working towards right now.
Oh, Kryan with one of the more fun characters that we can play here. You're a little bit too close to Kryan.
A little further away from that.
He's done this one before. I don't think he's done this one before. Everyone stand back. We're attempting science. Hold on. Stay ready. Kryan. Will he fly through? Can he complete the vault through the window? Spoit with a kill while we're at it. Yes, it's still working on the balcony as well. And he's in! Here we go. Into the barbed wire, that is. Wings inside. One inside a bar stock. He'll claim that life. As one over towards blue, I do believe. But actually, in fact, they have the entire site. One's inside of the bar area. Well, actually, he's dead. Deepak will actually just knock Skydie out. As the end, now down to the very last member, and being him on Victus. Able to at least claim a life here. One coming down blue, but he's immediately stopped dead in his tracks by Spoit. What a play there by Rogue.
You actually didn't catch a lot of it on the observer POV, but Spoit just ripping his way through most of that entry play right there. I'm pretty sure from the upstairs start. Walks in. I think he gets 2 off a rip, and then the third one finally at the end there as well. Beautifully managed by him. Kryan's play with the Gara hook and the rest of the team as well. Just kind of supporting play for the most part there. Works out wonderfully. Either way, Victus have virtually zero response to that as their site defense crumbles as Rogue finally varies it a little bit for themselves here. And now we are going to see Victus retreat potentially for the last time, and indeed for the last time as we're on the 6th round here down into the basement where they'll try to even things out into a 3-3 scoreline. This is where things started out for them at the very beginning of the half. Rogue was able to claim it, if memory serves me correctly. So a little bit of a correction needs to come out from these guys if they want to find success, and they are changing things up very slightly in the operator department. I believe Oscar switching over to the Bandit is going to be a change up from the previous time we saw this site attempted, so hoping to stem the tide a little bit further here. But Rogue also continuing to evolve their play style as needed here. The Finka coming back out for Spoit, and as well, Kryan going to continue to try and remain sneaky here, bringing the Nook out for the final round of play on this team's attacking side.
Rogue with potential to claim this half at a 4-2 split. Or Victus still having the opportunity to tie things up as well. Some adjustments across the lineup, as you said, but I'm Skeptic here with the Warden. That's going to be the big thing I'm notating here, as we'll at least be able to have some influence around the area. At least if Leon has smokes. Past that, he's just got some good utility in an MP5. They have, I believe, the Bandit batteries work out here as they're continuing to try and EMP things, but This is one of the oldest tricks in the book, in fact. We'll have to see if the professional roster can handle it. EMP out, frag grenade in. Oscar not dead yet, and he's going to have to back off. And no, the frag grenade. No, wait, no. I think it was the impact. I think there was an impact from inside. I think 50 got it. Oh, man. Well, that's extremely unfortunate. I was like, I don't think there's another frag grenade out here. But no, in fact, it was the impact grenade through the drone hole that's able to claim that second exothermic charge and leave Rogue dead in the water.
Very unfortunate if it was the frag grenade, as it definitely seemed like it rolled inside, but I'm pretty sure you're right. Should have been a Rogue impact, or technically a Victus impact, coming back out from the other side that would have stopped that. And we definitely have one used sitting over at Victus's utility screen over there in the top left as well, so that would make sense if it didn't end up being the case. Rogue, regardless, though, still need to clear out this map. The initial plan has failed, so they're going to go for the upstairs roam clear instead. Thankfully, won't find much there. Victus have pretty much fallen entirely back on their bunker play, and they're going to be able to use it now that we see a denial of the breach made onto the garage panels there. Nitro out, and Nitro successfully slammed against Dapek. Is going to be able to take him down and leave Rogue still with 4 players standing. Thankfully, drone economy is workable for this late in the round here, with 6 of them still available to use. They can certainly throw those downstairs. Spoit as well with a boom and entry here, just dry peeks into Oscar and is able to take him down, evening out the player count down to a 4v4.
Deployable shield in the back. Kanto will be able to handle that quite quickly, though. Not really going for the play just yet. So plenty of time to be able to sit here and try and work around the site and see if Victus will potentially slip up and give something a little easier than initially foreseen. Going to work down blue. They'll have to deal with Skeptic in this position, as well as if we do end up seeing the hatch drop here, some stronger positions we'll have to worry about, especially with Skydie. If you guys see this, he's over inside the trench hallway right now, I do believe, which could be potentially a huge play. He is indeed. He can swing on this. I don't think Kryne is going to know that he's here, and this is going to be a free frag for Skydie, but no, they're all going to drop in. Skydie's on the back end. He can end it all right now, but he's dead. So, my goodness, what a play there from Spoit. Leon, though, will shut down the rest of it. Rogue able to get it done. Round 6 will go their way, and it'll be a 4-2 at the half.
That's kind of difference here to get with a player like Spoit and the reaction time you get from him as well. Catches that flank maneuver. Skydie should have been able to single-handedly shut down that play from Rogue, but instead only gets a 1-for-1. Spoit immediately trades it back into Rogue's favor, and on top of a good entry play, Rogue were able to brute force their way into the site after their initial entry attempt through the snowmobile garage was denied. Beautifully done there. They make up the difference and still end up with a pretty solid lead coming out of the half at 4-2. But for Victus, it's also workable. They just need to find the right footing on this attacking side, and they too still have a chance to fight this. Not only, of course, to take the map, but to end this series 2-0. Rogue don't want to let that happen, so they're going to look for the closeout themselves to send us to our third and final map on Kafe. So let's see who will end up topping this one out as both of our teams get themselves set and ready to fight on their new sides.
Not too much of a change here for Victus in comparison to Rogue's lineup, and as I say that, actually, YZN is going to push it even further and take the buck that we saw a decent amount from Rogue. So this is starting to look like a fairly straightforward affair from them. The Ash is the big thing coming in here that we really don't see too often. Nomad making a lot of sense. Chalet is a map where you really want to isolate parts of the building and make it easier for yourself, as well as try and shut down some hop outs or some flanks. The air jumps are just always a really strong option for utility to bring for your offensive lineup. But the Ash doesn't really make all too much sense when it comes to having the the skeleton key along for the ride, but obviously it's just going to be explosive utility. Has secondary claymore as well as breaching charges, just depends on what Skydie brought, and more than likely is running the G36C, I would assume. So probably just bringing it for the extended breaching round game, just trying to get rid of some harder to reach things that require some explosive utility.
So a slow start for both teams. Victus not one to immediately insert themselves into the building. Gung-ho like. They're taking a bit of a slower approach to this one, making sure that they're able to get that trophy control either from down below or by working their way into Solarium first off. It's going to be the opposite approach that we saw Rogue taking from the other end of things. With that said, it has left a bit of a window open for Spoit as well as, I believe, Deepak to try and make a play from the bottom of the back stairs here in the basement, but they've got to watch out for that as there is a player looking to potentially pinch that out from the main garage inside of the same floor. Skydie as well position here to potentially punish any over-aggression from that window directly next to the office. So he's going to be, rather, next to bathroom, excuse me. So he's going to be paying close attention to that, trying to catch Leon. Leon quickly running out of room to play, though. He's got nowhere to go, and Oscar successfully pinches him down, knocks Leon out, and already puts Victus at an advantage of a 5v4.
And we're going to push it one step further yet again. YZN, not only does he pick up the buck, but he picks up the frag. Skeptic goes down. That's going to be the only hard breach, unless YZN has secondary hard breach utility. Kanto, now with the office position. And Cryan are dedicated to holding down this side of the map and trying to stop Victus from going further. Deepak, though, will be the first to strike as he runs out. He'll get gunned down from Flexi into the 3 versus 2. It's going to be a reposition from that angle, as well as Skydie has the plant here to be going off momentarily, and there it is. Flexi with a big pickup as well as he'll swing on in. It's all down to Kanto in the 1 versus 3. Make it a 1 versus 2. Those ones more than likely playing over next to the closet, but as Flexi grabs the rappel again, this is looking a little bit too difficult for him to muster.
Gonna give a call to Flexi, some excellent support coming in on this round, just with the off-site play, making sure that the members of Rogue were not able to appropriately rotate into a position to assist Kanto or anyone else, as he was flushed into office from the pretty much beginning of this take and was severely limited except for the 1 kill he was able to get. However, we're not done with the round just yet. Only 2 seconds left for him to get himself onto the case. He will make it there in time, and he even gets the kill, but there's not going to be enough time left for this counter defuse. The round's still going to end up going over to Victus, but man, what an attempt from the last player alive on Rogue.
Well, I'd say he's still got it. You know, I haven't got to watch too many Kanto games recently, but I'd say he's definitely still in that realm of being pretty cracked. What a round there, but sadly for Rogue, Victus will claim it instead. And, I mean, that was a great round from them as well. I love the way that they were able to work the map, especially get those initial picks. Rogue fire back. You know, they're near the early part of the mid-round, but past that, it's up to Victus that really just grabs a hold of the reins and takes full control of the Solarium side. A great setup as well on the outside window, making things really difficult. That run out is going to be super hard for Deepak as well. The more preferred one on that end is the one for Trench, but more than likely that was air jabbed, so he probably just didn't want to go for it in the first place. And obviously, your second best option is going to be running out the main door. But as we talked about previously, the timer will always catch you, so there's always going to be some information gathered. And if you have a quick player like Flexi, more than likely going to die to them just simply adjusting their crosshair. That's going to be the round for Victus. But now, as we're looking into it, Rogue moving sights as they'll be headed towards kitchen as well as dining.
Victus looking to really wrangle in control over this lead for the second time now after doing so back over on border. 1 round away is all they need to try and grapple towards now, and they'll be able to tie it up at 4-4 and look to fully take the lead away from Rogue on the following round here. Rogue, though, having no slouches when it comes to their play on Chalet. Immediate improvements from what we were seeing back on border. Now looking to try and really push that forward over towards Kafe as well. Much more team-oriented map in the long run of things here. So that is where we may finally start to see Victus falter, given the playstyle they have shown us from these first 2 maps. But Rogue are going to have to get us there first. As you can see, Victus is keeping their position strong inside of their attacking half. Already getting another opener for themselves, knocking out Spoit at the beginning of round number 8 here.
Hard fought from Rogue, as Oscar's going to take some damage, but he'll also be able to just think of himself back up. So more than likely not going to be an issue here momentarily, as they'll claim a life and get yet another Cryan. He just jumped off the balcony and died to Flexi. That was the whole move. He's dead. Leon now trying to take the fight with the SMG. Leon, get back in the kitchen, okay? Like, everybody calm down. We're taking SMG-11 gunfights at the front door. Flexi is just trying to body everyone in the potential tri-state area.
Come on,
and
Kanto.
Be the next one to die. Why is he
another one?
Oh, it's so close. Rogue, they're trying to fight back, but they're dead at every single battlefront.
Rogue are trying to fight fire with fire here, and unfortunately they fail to realize that Victus actually have a bucket of water as their real weapon here, as fire is just not working out at the moment.
So the
for
fire is
Rogue.
not actually fire, it's actually a bucket of water?
Yeah, it's a bit of a reach there. But I tried to make it funny. As we're down to just Deepak as well as Leon, it's not looking great for Rogue's attempt to get aggressive against the very same swings from Victus. Down to the wire here for these two players. Nade's coming in, but not necessarily going to be super on point for trying to knock these players out. One of them drifting, I think, a little close to Deepak. But as we're seeing YZN opening up a lot of that real estate to prevent him or Leon from rotating back through those basement stairs regardless. The real estate has been open to give them, I believe, just a peek hole to the inside of the dining room site. Can't actually walk through that just yet. Might need to do a few more in order to pop it open that far, but either way, they don't necessarily need the full breach. As long as they have vision, that'll more than likely be good enough, and for Leon, it's good enough for him too. A beautiful single shot connects on the Flexi's head, knocks him down there. Deepak as well, trying to sneak out, but now it's going to be a player from Victus leaping over the balcony to work out for them. Leon trying to run away back up through Solarium stairs, not expecting the second player to be there. He gets outwitted, and indeed, Victus complete the comeback and tie us up at 4-all at the end of the 8th round.
We have ourselves a ball game. It's going to be the kitchen dining room defense now for Rogue, as they've been starved for rounds in recent history. Not looking too hot at the current moment. Spoit getting picked off early, and yet another body to fall as Victus just gather map control at the snap of a finger. Really nothing else past that. Just Rogue getting completely dismantled, really, especially when it came to what was going on around the fireplace hall area. But either way, Rogue now try and shift gears and move back over into this other site. You've seen this one time before, but obviously things not working out. Rogue feeling as though they can do something a little bit differently to assist them this time around. But as we've seen, I don't think the aggressive front is exactly going to be the answer. So what is? That's the next question. It looks like we're going to have Spoit move over to Alibi. Just a solid pick overall on defense. The Prisma's quite annoying, especially with high-level siege gameplay where there's a lot of pre-firing and that kind of stuff. Usually ends up giving you some really solid information across the board, as well as a deployable shield or impacts as a secondary. You can't go wrong with either of those on defense. And you got that MX4 Storm with the 1.5, that SMG-11, kind of a staple of defenses nowadays ever since she came out back in the day. So that's that, though. Victus now out and on to the board here, as they will be swinging through yet again to see if they can take down Rogue.
3 more rounds to go for either one of our teams here if they'd like to claim it inside of regulation. So still a bit of work to be done, no matter which way you look at things. But Victus seem to have control of it, at least as of the past 2 rounds, now that they've jumped onto the attacking side. Skeptic early on here going to become a little bit worried of a potential run out from the inside of the garage, and he's right to assume that as well. It looks like we've got 1, if not 2 players potentially positioned there for Rogue, although I do believe they're up on the first floor. Yeah, not here in the basement. So that's just a little bit confusing from time to time, but all good, as Victus will now confirm that for us and open up some of the panels on the garage so they can begin clearing. Good spot there, speaking of drone work, as Deepak is spotted the moment he tries to ascend up through the Solarium stairs, so Victus will certainly be aware of that and be watching out for it, although both players will end up taking down each other with utility from either side of that. A nade for the attackers and a nitro for the defenders, obviously. That leads to 1 kill on either side.
That may potentially be the most unfortunate pick that Rogue could have gathered from Victus for Victus's sake. Because now the Habana is down, and they can no longer reach the Solarium single panel that they desperately need to open up some important angles. As you can see, everyone's trying to consider what to do right now. Looks like Oscar's going to re-repel. They're like, hey, are we going to move? No? Okay. Wait, yes? Okay, Scotty didn't kill himself there either, so that's good. I was really worried there for a split second. Didn't really see the positioning where he was on the balcony, and that garage space will just instantaneously down you if you fall. They're going to hop in and try and take the frags instead, and now Victus at a disadvantage for the very first time on their offensive side. They'll get rid of the Banshee in West Main, but that's just going to be more bodies to claim for Rogue. And Oscar will be taken down, I do believe. Yes, indeed, as Cryan will actually take him down. It'll be Leon to take down the other member inside of West, and that will be their very first round on defense.
So a perfect early pick being found from Rogue. And aside from that as well, Victus unfortunately just either not having or not using their drone capability well enough there on the refrags, trying to get themselves into the first floor. So they walk directly into primarily Leon's setup, but a few other members of the team supporting too, to make sure that that push from Victus does not go any further than Trophy after they try to swing in and make up for the issue of losing their hard breach on that opening utility play. Rogue do maintain their lead as a result of taking that round, and as well, have the capability to try and run away with this one out. What could be a 7-4 victory. Don't necessarily think that's going to happen, though. Victus have been one to adjust quite quickly to their own mistakes and come back in still and keep things quite competitive. So expect them to stay in the fight here as Rogue rotate back upstairs into their bedroom hold yet again.
Sticking to their guns, trusting what they know, it seems, as they've stuck to these northern sites the entire time they've been on this side. Victus now with somewhat of a different look as well, adjusting quite a few of their chess pieces across the board, going for more of a set up and execute type of beat with the Nomad and the Lion coming in here, as well as some of the hard breach that they will more than likely have. I'm trying to think as to if anyone even has hard breach in this lineup. I think Lion does. Actually, no, he doesn't. He has stun grenades on. I was going to say, I don't think he has them any longer, but I
Yeah, we
could
don't even have it
potentially be
equipped.
wrong about that. So, but past that, nobody else on this lineup is actually going to have secondary hard breach. So there's going to be a funnel setup. They're literally rushing this. That's a Gone 6 in this man's head. That's an EMP there. And action. We're in, and we're taking gunfights. YZN, not able to get anything done, but they will be able to at least claim office, and that's going to give Skeptic some space to, well, just die, as they'll trade that out. It's a 2 versus 3 in favor of Rogue at the current moment. Deepak at some lower HP than he'd like to be, and really no way in order to get it back. Spunk will take him down as it's all left up to Flexi, who was on the counter angle to try and help with this calamity, but as you can see, that did not go too well.
Yeah, if the deep sight player from Victus was able to stay alive there in the 2v3, there may have been a chance for this to be workable for Victus, but now that it's been brought down to Flexi, yeah, it's going to get absolutely decimated. Always a little awkward when those rush plays do not work out, but Rogue, unfortunately, spotting that play from the moment it began and adjusting themselves quite nicely, too. Bit dodgy inside of the gunfight, but they held on to a staging ground over towards the Solarium side of the site and were able to use that to deny the remaining presence to get themselves into the site, more importantly, get a plant onto the ground. So Victus trying to go for a bit of an all-in play, doesn't work out well for them, and unfortunately happens at a pretty inopportune moment as well, as they've just thrusted Rogue up onto map point as a direct result of that.
Yes, indeed. And this is looking more like a full best of 3 at the moment. So now for Rogue with the potential to close it out here on Victus's map, the 7-4 fashion. They're going to bring it over to Bart Gaming, and the Frost coming back into play for the window play that we see quite often around this area. Going to still have some pretty cool odds and ends coming in, like Sploit back onto the Alibi, as well as the Mira coming into play. But we kind of already broke that one down earlier. It's going to be the stock, as well as the top library balcony here being played out with this Mirror. So past that, though, still going to have the discs and everything else in between for Rogue. Victus, though, they're going to be shifting gears yet again. Sledge in for YZN. Flexi will be off of the Nook and onto the Twitch, just feeling the firepower over the frags and sneak value that you get out of that Nook.
Skeptic going to be the first among a few others from Victus to move forward here, and we'll see them take position once again for that staging ground next to Library quite quickly. Unfortunately, or at least for Skitey, he walks directly past the games room window here and is just going to end up pre-fired, it looks like, from the inside. Rogue able to strike true for themselves, shut that one down, and unfortunately bring Victus down to a reduced number of players before this round even really gets started here. Nicely done from Rogue, though, to be able to line that up for themselves, and they can chill out now. They can play back into the site for the most part and just let Victus work towards their execute, as they don't have much to fear here, given the fact that they're already up 5v4.
Yeah, with that being said, I mean, Victus is going to take their time. You know, they are at a disadvantage at the current moment, have to try and gather some more info. Flexi, at least be able to see the player at the top of the balcony. Those are still playing around the area, and he's going to be able to get the Mira, so it's going to make things a little bit more complicated. Flexi more than likely going to try and slide yet another drone in here and potentially get the bottom drone, or rather Mira, as well. And a little bit of a slower play at the current moment. Oscar made in as he's going to hop. Spoit didn't sign of the small area here at Fort Library. The potential swing coming through soon. YZN will be able to get the initial one, and we're going to have Spoit with potentially 3 here. The double kill and started to damage up the last member quite handedly. Lots of damage onto YZN. So won't be able to finish it. A single sliver's worth of HP holding him away from death. Spoit knows that he made the move for Ego Balcony to be able to hold this in from the office, but I don't think that he knows that he's crossed. He can see this gun barrel right now. Oh, it's so very close. Spoit's going to start moving forward, but this could give up the audio cue. Audio and Siege quite important. He's going to shift back and he'll be able to claim his life as well. A triple kill now for Spoit. One of the best rounds we've seen from him inside of this series.
So now it's just Skeptic up against the world here in a 1v3, nearly getting tripped up by that clone as well as he peeks out into the hallway, but quickly realizing his mistake. The problem is the shot more than likely giving him away, and the camera definitely doing so as he just does a quick little crouch check, knowing that he messed up there. Not going to be too big of a deal as the round was unfortunately nearly at its end regardless. The Spoit difference seems to push our friends from Rogue into a much better position as they take solid control here over our second map. They're going to be able to tie up the series at 1-1 and send us to a third and final map over on Kafe Dostoyevsky here. It's going to be quite the fun affair, and we're not going to waste much time, ladies and gentlemen, there. Rogue is back in it. We want to make sure they're ready to go for their third map, so we are going to go to a quick break, and when we do come back, we'll have that third and final map ready to rock and roll to see who is moving onwards, continuing their conquest here in the upper bracket, and who unfortunately has to fight it out in the lower bracket. Stick with us, folks, and we'll be right back. And welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Gamers Without Borders qualifying event here for all of our regions. Actually, we'll be jumping around them throughout today. My name is Blue. Joining me here once again on the broadcast is Stokes, and we're getting ready to head into the third and final matchup of one of our opening games for our European qualification bracket, that being between Victus and Rogue. Rogue having the surprise loss in the first map of only 2-7 on border for their own map pick, but they do rebound quite nicely here on map number 2 and are able to claim Chalet for themselves, tying it up at 1-1, getting us ready for our third and final map now on Kafe. Stokes, what's your take here on the first two maps and any bold predictions you may have for our third map coming up in just a few moments?
Nothing really too bold. I think the big thing is that Kafe is just such a different flavor than what we saw with those first two maps. So we're really going to see a big change up for both of these teams and what's being asked of them on, both sides here, especially when it comes to the offense. It's going to require a lot of clearing. I'm excited to see if Victus can, still play with such a tempo inside of a map like this.
Yeah, I think that Victus's aggressive strategies are probably going to find a bit of a short point, I think, here on Kafe, just because of the way the map works, especially on third floor takes and whatnot. Those types of try to just straight up pushes we've seen from them, like the rush play we saw towards the end of their game on Chalet, even though that round didn't work. I think we've seen similar plays that have worked out quite well for this team. Just overall, it's not going to land as nicely on a map like Kafe, where you're denied out much more heavily. You do need to establish those sorts of like staging grounds and clear out utility or hard lock players before you can even begin to consider making moves like that. So may have to see a different kind of style on things come out from Victus this time. At the same time, we could be surprised here if they still are able to make that work for themselves and then build that on top of a pretty solid defensive half as well. Either way, should be a good time, as these first two maps have been quite competitive despite the scoreline for map number 1. Map number 2 was a very back and forth affair, and I'm hoping the Kafe is the same thing, so we get a real winner out of this matchup to see who moves onward and who heads down to the lower bracket. Important to mention, folks, that we do indeed have a lower bracket here, so the losing team is not going to be eliminated outright at this point in the bracket.
Nope. So yeah, a little bit of a buffer there. Don't have to worry too much about losing out immediately. And I mean, that could be good news for one of these teams. And luckily enough, we'll find out momentarily. Kafe starts now between Victus and Rogue. We're getting into the ban phase here, and Victus will have the opener as they'll be starting on the defensive end. And what do they want to remove outright? Another thing is, are we going to get another Azami ban on defense?
I think it's very possible. It's kind of been what Victus is hard locked in towards every single game, so I don't know why Kafe would be any different. They are going to start on that offensive side, so maybe they've got a secret plan to utilize it here, but I think more than likely they'll end up with it banned. Either way, their attacker ban is already done and dusted here. They're going to knock out Flores. Same move as we saw from them back on map number 1. Makes perfect sense when you consider how strong Flores has become, especially on maps like Kafe, where he can obviously knock out the utility that's otherwise inaccessible to more directly thrown utility. So going to be getting rid of him just to remove that comfortability factor from Rogue. Nook as well goes away. That's another ban we saw come out of Rogue back on our first map. So just repeating it there, bringing it back. And also Valkyrie going to be their second and final choice for our first defender ban here.
Just cross your fingers. Everybody at home, just cross your fingers.
It's gonna happen again.
Let's see what we get.
It's going to be a zombie again.
Let's hit the lottery.
Be very surprised.
It's Mira!
They actually
She's
in. That's didn't expect that, to be honest with you.
This is like that meme where the guy stops right before he hits diamonds while mining. You just didn't believe, John. You had to go one step further, and you would have had a zombie, and she's in now.
All right, jinx it in our favor, and you all can thank me now.
I mean, that's true. That is true. Unluckily enough, we won't have her here in the initial round going to Bar Cocktail, but we are still having some interesting plays across the board here, obviously, as... well, not too much, out of the ordinary really going on the offense, but the defense, this is looking quite stoic in what they want to try and go for. I mean, they're looking into more like the Maestro with, a lot of deny here with the ADSs as well as Wamai and the laser gate. So they just went completely into that. I mean, Flexi's really just here to make sure that the walls don't get instantaneously exploded. So it really looks like they want to make sure that Rogue has to go through the whole enchilada in order to achieve anything with this top floor.
Actually, again, just really surprised that this map out of all three of them is the one that Azami is allowed in for play. Because I feel like this is the map out of all of them where you have like choke points or very claustrophobic areas of the map where those where her utility can be used quite effectively. I mean, like just straight up like blocking off areas like pixel access and stuff when you have to fall back from it, for example, things like that. Obviously, it can be dealt with very easily given how Sledge is still generally a mainstay for attacking teams on this map, but it still adds that extra annoyance, and especially when you're coming down to the wire of like 30-40 seconds left, if that's Sledge or even another member that needs to take care of it is not in the correct position to do so, it could throw things off to a degree where it could put you in kind of a pole position on the defense to win a map. So we'll be very curious to see if Victus or Rogue try to use her later on in the game, as it does not seem as though Victus need her, at least for this first hold up on the 3rd floor. One that Rogue is now getting their first peek of now as they've started to ascend the building.
Well, as you know, it's going to require a lot of drone work before we get to any of the fun tidbits here, unless Oscar has something to say about this. He seems to be in quite the aggressive position. I believe he's actually down low inside of Red Hallway, though. Those silhouettes do kind of get weird when you're staring down at them, and in fact, he is. He's at the bottom of Red Stairs here, so does have the potential to just go for the swing and go for the frag. Obviously, no nitro cell inside of this kit, so doesn't have the luxury of that at the moment, and also his fall back towards mining and it's actually barricaded. So his only route out is he wants to shoot that barricade down, which not the best thing with that 16-round magazine, is down Red Stairs, which could potentially be cut off later depending on Rogue's information gathering. But zero information when it comes to Red, speaking of which, and info for Oscar, and this is the freest to freeze. Nobody's paying attention literally at all, as Oscar's going to get away, and he's just going to get away scot-free. YZN's going to kill somebody as well. And Rogue already being picked apart inside of these opening minutes.
So a great start to this round and this game for Victus here, as Rogue have nothing to claim after those 2 kills are thrown against them. And man, Kanto, oh man, the 2-for-1 bait. I guess Deepak is okay with that, but the rest of Rogue, probably not so much the case here, as he's now left alone out here on the rappel. YZN just
like, I don't like
single-handedly shutting down the assault from this game and leaving Deepak in a very awkward position here. This is surely a round that's going to go into Victus's hands unless we see some absolutely amazing stuff come out from Deepak in the next 40 seconds.
Well, I'll just see if they're actually using this as a makeshift timeout. Doesn't necessarily seem like it, as though Deepak will move right off of the roof immediately. A little fake stutter step back there. If you guys saw it, he tried to fake the audio drop to see if anybody would peek and pre-fire, get some free information for himself. Deepak,
here we go.
now on to new balcony. Not too much really going on with anything, the situation. There's nobody that's going to peek. I mean, like, in this situation, Victus played this out perfectly. Like, you shouldn't try and go and chase this person down. You should just play for the angles and wait for them to get into more of a kill box setup. And that's exactly what Victus allows. Rogue more or less just defeat themselves in that situation, as Victus play off of what we were talking about before, all of that denial on that top floor, making it hard for Rogue to dislodge these Victus members. And they win all of the gunfights as Rogue try to handle that situation. It just makes things way too difficult. And to be honest with you, the oversight of Oscar on Red Stairs cannot go unnoticed. That was something that should have never happened.
The members of Victus able to get away with quite a few bandit-style plays at the beginning of this round here, just stealing them right out of Rogue's hands, and that puts Rogue into a very awkward scenario right from the beginning of the round, one that unfortunately they try to make up for with even more aggression. We saw this at least one round back on Chalet, if I remember correctly, too, where they just tried to kind of throw more of themselves at the problem to see if they could correct it with just raw aggression, and it didn't really work out. Only fed YZN 2 more kills, left him with a healthy 3 coming out of that first round there, and Victus overall with far too much control over the situation. The last player on Rogue to course correct anything back into their team's favor. So it's 1-0 lead for Victus. They're going to try to make it 2-0 now with the first floor hold. So we see them head down into kitchen for this second round.
Oh, okay. I like what I'm seeing here. We're opening up the Red Hall here. My cat's trying to eat my headphone wires, man. I'm gonna have to set him down soon. He's just he tries to do this all the time. But either way, this angle is really nice for coat check, and that's the main thing. We're more than likely gonna have a coat check player, I would assume, from Victus, just to try and potentially hold down that area and make things a lot easier. If Rogue wants to go for like a bakery take, that angle is gonna be super harsh for them trying to work in like K1 and K2. But the good news for Rogue is that they have Leon on Monty. Now, Monty, within like the last year, has been nerfed when it comes to the amount of explosive damage that he takes. He takes a decent amount more through the shield now, but a lot of teams have found him still very strong inside of the amount of pressure that he's just able to apply pretty easily by simply just being there. If you ignore a Monty, you're more than likely going to die to the pistol quite soon while trying to manage other angles. So now some frag grenades and some other things inside of Prep Kitchen only deal a little bit of damage to Skeptic. Drones now to try and assist and get some extra information on the bakery player here of Flexi playing in behind the glass paints. Skeptic, though, will be inside of Prepped with Skydy trying to assist from above. Oscar, though, holding things off over on red. The first minute for Rogue already expiring. Oscar's actually going to shift himself down the stairwell. Still able to hold on to things pretty well around the map as Rogue has basically abandoned all hope when it came to this bakery take. Rogue Nitro Cell, speaking of which, will actually fly out the front door. Flexi just giving that one to the birds. And now Victus have to really stand still and see what Rogue's next move is going to be.
It's not a total loss here for Rogue. They did manage to bait out all 3 of the Toxic Babes from Skeptic, so he's out of utility for the rest of this round. We can see that, yes, indeed, though. As Stokes just mentioned, Rogue's drone economy is in the toilet in the meanwhile. Just 2 of them remaining. Oscar is going to be able to take out Cryan as well for the first kill of the round. So while this was building up to something that Rogue may have been able to work towards when you consider the wasted Toxic Babes on Skeptic, or at least the one just used for delay earlier on, it's going to be a little tough for Rogue to make the rest of this momentum move forward as they only have the 2 drones remaining. We can see the position inside of Christmas is going to become a bit problematic here as Leon just brute forces his way up to it. Spoit also getting the first opening kill here for Rogue inside of the round. They're going to be able to actually carry it forward as Deepak gets another one too, but Spoit gets distracted by the motion sensor of all things. Kanto, though, with a nice nade from up on top, quickly corrects again here for Rogue, keeps them in the fight and in control of the player advantage here. The drone going to spot out one of the 2 remaining elements for Victus, as we're going to see Skeptic down below get found out. Leon should be able to brute force his way over to that angle, but you may have noticed already the player's already relocated from the silhouettes, gone instead towards the main kitchen entry, and they won't be able to confirm that because they're out of drones now. Kanto still knocks out Flexi, though, and leaves Skeptic all on his lonesome. But this is the player that moved. This is the one they weren't aware of. If he can deny this plan outright, the round may end right here, but no! Deepak too quick on the exchange. The round will, in fact, go to Rogue, and a very nice recovery given to them, all things considered.
Very well done from Deepak on the cover, too, because that was going to be a very quick exchange. And if anything went awry there, that could have been a Victus round just based off of the timer. But luckily enough, they persevere, and Rogue will be able to claim their first. Victus, very solid initial defense, just staving off a lot of what Rogue wanted to do, but the Monty working out extremely handedly, as well as even with the low drone economy, Leon getting so much information on site with that singular drone blue. He saw so much as to what Victus had to do, especially in the back end where they wanted that plant, and Rogue abused that extremely well. So nice build up around the bunker area and able to get the plant off right inside of that area as Deepak just holds from freezer. I mean, very straightforward from that moment, but I mean, it was quite the road to get there as they had to fight through Victus body after body.
So Victus are going to falter at the very end of that round. Seemed like they had decent control over things as well, but Rogue, again, that capability to suddenly insert themselves into the building, and great utilization of the Monty as well to kind of bully their way in for the first few positions they had to fight for on the first floor. That was not an easy push to make, given the crosses that could have come out from both inside of Christmas as well as deeper inside of like the kitchen breach and whatnot. So Rogue making the best out of a bad situation, still able to get themselves in. That's also with them losing the opening gunfight too. So beautiful recovery from them, and as well built off of the kind of good wasting of utility from earlier on. The smoke that was being played out there from Victus, like I talked about, was pretty much out of delay capability by the minute-and-a-half mark, so Rogue knew that and probably was a big part of their plan to trying to insert themselves from the other end now that they knew that those Toxic Babes weren't going to come back to fight them at any point. Starting out on this round, Rogue is starting things from the roof position. It looks like once again they'll work their way down, as it is going to be, I believe, a second floor hold from Victus coming into this round, so Rogue will need to make sure they clear out that extended cocktail position position if Victus are indeed playing into it. It looks like that's the case from the silhouettes we can currently see. Cryan, though, nearly getting himself found. That is, I believe, a Nitro. Pops open that secondary hatch, leaving Cryan just a little bit too close to it. He goes down to about 30%, but is going to get boosted up a bit more, thankfully, because Finka is in play for the attack.
A hot zone for Spoit awaits him as he enters into Cigar Shop. There's one in Pixel, one back on stage, and another one in Hut. Is close left. I don't know if the drone's gotten this either. A free pick initially. No swing from the Hut player yet either, so they're going to be able to at least keep the advantage. This drone more than likely going to be able to claim that. Oh, no, I don't think that he knows that he's here. Hasn't shifted at all. I think the Hut player is actually safe unless he abandoned ship. No, he's still inside of here. Oh,
Boyd's
no,
so
Spoit
safe,
will
though.
have no idea here. He'll think this is entirely droned out as he moves forward, but he hasn't made the misstep just yet. He's literally just moving back and forth, but here it is finally. But oh, the trigger discipline still inside of here. He finally takes it down and he's out. Oscar gets away with it all as he runs into Shaco. Has to move back as it'll be Skydie to take him down. Able to move back through as Oscar will take Cryan, rotating out of Shaco. And what a kill from Oscar. The trigger discipline, the entire thing. I mean, a delivery from this Victus roster here in round 3.
Bit of a misstep there for Rogue in the utility, or rather the intel department, to allow that to happen in the first place, but Victus will take what they can get here. Rogue, however, not giving up just yet. A 2v3, especially given what happened in the previous round, certainly going to be a workable win for these guys here as they try to bring this round back and allow them to take the lead away again from this Victus roster. Victus, though, are not taking any chances. As you could see from that setup there, they have fallen back to the most extreme extent they possibly can and are looking to play this to the most passive extent possible as well. Library player is going to have a bit of extra pressure thrown against them. It will be Skydie that'll have to contend with that. Taking up position behind the fallen bookshelf, though, should yield good results here against the swing from Leon as he's going to move in, try to get the plant down onto the floor. Skydie will be successful in being taken out by Dapek a little bit closer to the front of the site, but ultimately Oscar again will trade out not only the play from Leon inside of the site, but the play against Dapek as well, shutting down the advances from Rogue and giving Victus this round instead.
I mean, this is hard fought at the current moment. This is back and forth cannon fodder from both of these teams. It's been incredible stuff here on Kafe. And honestly, I really have enjoyed the aggressive plays we've been seeing. You know, it kind of builds up to a boiling point. And that's what I really appreciate about Kafe when it comes to teams that play like this, right? It's not really front loaded where you're going to have like a bunch of bodies just immediately fall unless you really have like a rush strat or something like that. But there's always going to be these moments where just because you didn't check a singular corner out of like 17 corners, there's going to be a person inside of Hut or something like that. It's just, there's always those little tidbits. You have to make sure that you are checking that box when it comes to a map like this. And when it comes to these very fast teams that are trying to get into the building and take these gunfights, sometimes it goes awry. And that's exactly what we saw inside of that round. Victus using that to its fullest and taking it. I will see if they can continue to run away with it on this defensive end.
Rogue, of course, looking to quickly change things up in their own regard, seeing no reason to switch the operator lineup. Is going to keep everything original to what they picked in the prep phase, so should have good intel about what to expect coming into this round. For Victus, however, they still need to be ready for the initial entry attempts, as that's been the part that's remained fairly strong here from Rogue, despite the follow-through that may happen afterwards. Spoit has been nearly an unstoppable force when it comes to these opening plays. They'll still have to be paying very close attention to his opening advances as well as what the rest of Rogue will be working towards. After that is when Victus seemed to have much better control over the situation, just catching those initial plays where they're getting tripped up right now. Thankfully, here on the third floor hold, that shouldn't be too complex to read into, as the attackers really only have one realistic way to play into it, and it's all going to start from the red hatch position that we can see Deepak and a few other members of Rogue beginning to toy around with at this very moment.
Every member of Rogue practically on drone at the moment. In fact, they all are. I was giving them the benefit of the doubt. I thought somebody was active at the current moment, but in fact, no, everyone's on drone trying to gather information, and they've at least found out that a couple ADSs exist inside of Christmas, as well as a bulletproof camera. They'll get rid of both of those. There's some frag grenades in the pocket of Spoit. One drone down at the moment. The drone economy already taken a hit here for Rogue. Only down 2, so not the biggest worry in the world at the current moment. Be able to hop back onto these drones as well. Have a solid position already inside of Cigar Shop, but where is the rest of the Rogue roster? besides that Christmas rappel that we see, we're going to have another one coming inside of the triple, or rather the ticket wall here inside of Christmas. Some bathroom presents from Victus as well. Lexi currently inside of Freezer. No one really trying to make a forward move as of yet. Brian down on his cooldown at the current moment. I believe he's waiting for this so he can burn the laser gate. Still has a frag grenade to be able to abuse here, so more than likely looking to do something with this.
It's Rogue with the opener again, and it's also Spoit being the player to find it as he takes up position, as you can see. A nice example of here, right at the very back of the piano, trying to ace his way through it. Cryan is going to get the next piece of the puzzle instead of him, however, taking down Skeptic, and Spoit, still ready to move himself through, is not ready for the immediate repeat from Skitey there. The two-player combo is a bit too much to deal with, and Skitey, on the back end of it, also catches Cryan as well. Both of the entry players that have been impacting on this round from Rogue now dead, done and dusted, at least until we get to round 5. It also evens up the player count into another 3v3. Leon gonna see if he can make up the difference now as he tries to advance forward. Oh, but is lined up with a beautiful headshot opportunity against Oscar. It'll be a body shot that kills him. He's able to go back, but no! Thought for sure we would have had the refrag there, but not gonna happen. Leon goes down. Skitey gets himself 2 more. And now it's just Deepak in the 1v2. We've seen clutches like this go by the way of Rogue before. Now this time as well, the timing not playing into his favor. He's got to move soon, and it's just not going to happen. YZN shuts it down, and it's Victus taking control of another round.
It's not Victus taking control of another round. It's Skitey taking control of another round. He shuts down Rogue's entire offensive onslaught. They try and throw it at Whitehall. They die. They try and throw it at Cigar. They die. They try and double back. It doesn't matter where you try and rotate to. It seems like Skitey is everywhere. Is that MP5K simply cannot miss the heads of Rogue inside of round 4. And that's going to be, I believe, yes, indeed, all of his, wait, no, reading the wrong thing here. Actually, a majority, yes, indeed, of his kills. I was reading YZN's kills there for a split second. Of Skitey's kills coming inside of that round. Previously 1 and 2, now 5, 2 and 1. Incredible stuff from him in that round. And Victus at least guaranteeing a tie on this defensive side.
It's done again here from Victus, constantly showing the force that they can contend with here, so that they can tango with the best of the best, and they're going to be able to potentially continue doing so if they're able to follow through with the victory here today, of course. Rogue, once again, if they end up dropping this one, will have their own opportunity to bounce back against us in the lower bracket run here for the Gamers Without Borders European qualifying brackets. Of course, of 2 other European teams. I believe their match is being played over on the primary stream right now, one of which being Heroic. So another great challenger here in the EU scene, looking to make their stuff known, as they also want to contend for that spot at our grand finals event, where we will have $2 million on the line for our players directly. So teams definitely wanting to fight for a spot at that. Going back into this game, though, and seeing how Rogue will try to correct things in these last 2 rounds to try and tie us up at 3-3. Starting it out with a straightforward play yet again, as they'll be popping open the 2 roof hatches for themselves and beginning to clear things out from here. It's all vertical for these guys, and despite that fact, Victus actually have not set up too heavily against this. They are going to be playing mainly horizontally. I think a bit of an extension onto the second floor, but since they are back down in the kitchen, they are focusing most of the defenses on that floor itself.
Yeah, and Rogue are just going for the free clear here with the Jackal as well, so this should be a fairly straightforward affair for them on this first, or 3 and 2 clear. Get rid of all the cameras and everything else in between. Somebody's going to run outside, but nobody on rappel more than likely for Rogue. They're pinching out the rest of the rooms. Cryan will be playing on white just in case somebody does want to try and rotate. Whether there be somebody here, but obviously we know they're not, or if somebody comes up the actual staircase. Oscar will be holding the bottom of red. We've seen him in similar positions before, like the first round, and now he has a chance to get away with something again, something dastardly if he does, in fact. He'll be able to get back down into the waiting arms of his teammates and more than likely claim a life and get away with it. And in 20 seconds here, as Rogue are finally working on this flooring. Quite a few holes already made, in fact, 2 breaching charges down. If you put them on the outside wall inside of that hallway, they'll actually break the flooring up as well, which is a really convenient thing. You just got to put them at crouch level, so little thing there for people at home. But past that, though, Rogue need to continue to try and abuse this. They do have Cryan on the soft destruction here as well, so they can create the angles for bunker. But as you can see, Victus have so much presence. There's going to be so many areas to try and manage.
Kanto just constantly swinging the hammer, looking for an opportunity down below, but not going to be finding it. As you can see, the nearest player would be Flexi. A little bit of damage going on to him there. I think it might have been a nade bleeding over a little bit, but nothing concrete to flush him out entirely. So Rogue continue to guess, look for an opening advantage. They're finally going to find not just one, but two. Kanto finds one on the nade. Cryan gets one with his rifle, and one additional one picked up, I believe, by Leon as well. Beautifully done here by Rogue. Took a while to finally meet the effectiveness they needed it to, but now they flushed out nearly all of the inside presence. It is just going to be Skydie trying to maintain his position way on the Christmas position, and then Flexi over here by Prep. Really no horse left in this race, unfortunately. Tries to peek out, but Daypeak already has his number. Red is going to be able to shut him down, and that's probably the most convincing round we've seen from Rogue so far in this series.
Yeah, I would completely agree. That was very, very well executed. Everything from top to bottom. I really love the operators that they chose for that lineup as well. I think it's a really, really sound strategy. The Jackal clear is super strong on Kafe. And when they give it over to you, it really forces Victus into a pretty pigeonholed position. They have to play that bottom floor and have to be playing towards a place that they can't get isolated because, if the team is fast enough, they can grab a hold of the doors and windows close to you, or at least like a hallway or something, and you're all of a sudden in hot water. So for Victus, they ran into that actually time and time again, at least from what we saw for the mutes position over inside of VIP. I believe it was Skydie who had that unfortunate, meeting with Spoit there as he immediately prone at the bottom of White Stairs. So for Victus, I think that they just need to try and be a little bit more forward with the floor that they're playing on, but still have that opportunity to rotate back. As soon as you start getting that that pressure, like you immediately have to hightail it. But luckily enough, they're actually going to switch things up here for Rogue's sake. The Jackal no longer along for the ride. And it really wasn't the full crux of the entire setup as well. It's really, really strong for that clear. And if you can capitalize on their information clearing through those two floors. But Nomad is also a really solid option just because of how much stairwell play we've seen from Victus inside of this game so far. Oh no,
man.
not
we're gonna see some more of it.
The SMG-11. It's out of the SMG-11.
We're just talking about stair play. Well, YZN at the bottom of the White Stairs, over by the garage run, lines up a perfect play versus Deepak, takes him down outright. No hope of a trade on that one this early on in the round. So that's a free W for Victus right at the very start.
Yeah, just missed droning. There's nothing else past that. That's just a critical blunder. And they're really going to be feeling that one as well, John, because not having Nomad in this position just makes things so lackluster. You have to really make sure that Deepak is managing these flank cameras and making sure that the offense doesn't have somebody trying to slip through the cracks. Fortunately enough, though, they do have a pretty solid drone economy for everybody that's alive, but do remember that more than likely Deepak's drones are still existing somewhere on this map as well, so hopefully they're in a good position, but more than likely not for a later execute, as he was more than likely trying to look for what he was going for initially, but obviously not towards the bottom of White Stairs.
So considering that kill, you can see that this pixel position has been completely abandoned from the start of the round. I don't think Victus could, well, didn't really need to, I should correct myself to say, maintain that spot since it was going to be a bit of a risky one. They've already got the advantage for themselves, so it's not really warranted anymore. But chose to leave the shield there regardless. I think if they wanted to go back to it, the slow follow-up from Spoit has actually worked out quite well, as they've been able to find Flexi. So the numbers now evened up. Had to do a very slow crawl to get to that point, but Rogue have re-equalized things. Spoit, though, nearly having a run set against him, but he flips it right back onto Skeptic's head instead, knocking him down and putting the numbers back into Rogue's favor. Beautifully played by Spoit, and again, making up the difference here. He's now going to try and go for a third, but he may not even need it. Cryan has set up yet another kill against Victus here, leaving just YZN and Skydie in the fight against a strong 4 players still standing from Rogue. Cryan as well with another kill here. YZN at least strikes back, finally ending Spoit's rampage, but he's going to take out 3 more players all of a sudden.
That's going to be impossible as soon as Cryan gets on the case. As the LMG 150 bullets, but it's only going to take about 5 in order to decide that round, and it's going to be a 3-3 split here as Rogue will claim defense now. And I mean, if they're as strong as they were inside of those last 2 rounds, Rogue could run away with it at the current moment on this defensive end. But I mean, a lot of really solid gunplay going into those last 2 rounds as well, and Spoit with some magical moments as well.
Absolutely the case. Really looking to prove himself right from the very beginning of his run on Rogue. For anybody who missed it, indeed, we can confirm. I know the name doesn't reflect it in game, but that is indeed Spoit. For those who missed the announcement earlier, he has officially joined this roster and he's playing for them. So this is his first official match with the squad. He's been doing quite well so far. Certainly making up the difference for Rogue, just not necessarily getting the results I think that Rogue would have liked to come from this matchup here, hoping for a bit of a shutdown in their favor. Didn't get that, as Victus have also put up quite the strong fight in this game also, so making it a little bit more even than I think they would have expected. So regardless, though, that's a benefit to us, the viewers, as we end up getting a very nice matchup. The first of 3 happening today, folks. We've got plenty more Siege happening not only on this channel, but over on the main Gamers Without Borders channel as well. So make sure to go ahead and check that out, as we have 2 more best of 3s on both of our streams throughout the rest of today.
Absolutely. So much Siege to be had, and we're barely through the first best of 3 here, as we still have a potential of quite a few rounds. We're only for round 7. Could at least double up if we want to go to max OT. Better lock in there, Blue. As Oscar will make his way to the roof. Just going to be sledging open some hatches, making things a little bit easier for Victus to work their way in for their initial take. Looks like everyone wants to be working some windows around the Christmas area, though. Can't exactly blame them. Usually a solid beginning to this, as well as this position that you see getting taken up by Oscar with the drone. You can get a lot of different information found out as to what's going on in the area. Be the nade down low. Hopefully didn't destroy his camera. You never know really what's going to happen with those fragmentation explosions every once in a while here. As fortunately enough, survived both of them. Nobody in behind one of the main bar areas either. I believe it's B2 if I'm remembering off the top of my head. Haven't had to use that one there in a little while. But past that, though, Rogue have been able to maintain their man advantage, or rather man count, as has been quite the issue in the past on the defenses. But these last 2 rounds have at least stoked the flame.
A little under halfway through the timer now for Victus to begin clearing things out, and they need to get themselves off to a booming start here as well. Things started quite well for them on the defensive end of Kafe. The rebound and follow-up from Rogue was strong also, able to even out the scoreline and keep us the dead heat 3-3. Now Victus taking control of Cigar for themselves. Yes, that's the easy part of getting this upstairs hold flushed out, but they need to work themselves past this point, knock out the walls either to the bathroom hold or the freezer plate, and allow this team to swing themselves forward here. We're going to see the X-Kairos going off, gives a small window into bathroom, but nothing actually truly that this team needs. That's a lot better, though, as YZN starts us off strong for the Victus roster once more, catching Leon trying to rotate up through white stairs and now potentially giving him access to this POV, but Cryan will stand in the way. Nade thrown out against him. That's no problem for him to dodge. It goes way too deep. And on top of that, he'll get the trade against YZN.
Well, Sky taking down Cryan now as Victus gather the lead. It'll be playing things around stack for the current moment. Has to worry about Pixel as well as freezer pressure, but also he has a few own men behind him to try and assist, but can't get it done. Almost gets to 180 as the trades go back and forth, but now Rogue had been able to equalize. Skeptic will come in, trying to grab a hold of Cocktail. Oscar now able to win his initial gunfight. It's all going to be down to Deepak as he's clambering up the white stairs. As the plan's more than likely going down. Doesn't know exactly where it is, though, as he's waiting off the hot ping, but he's on the far side here. So, in fact, Septic will likely grab the angle and win this, depending on what audio cues he's able to gather. It's more than likely Deepak. Oh, he's so very close here. Doesn't know that he's in close to the actual space, as he's actually off of that far Cocktail side, as we were talking about before, and the angle just not working out for Deepak, assuming that he's inside near the bomb chassis and loses out that fight in full.
So Victus finds solidity at the immediate beginning of the second half here, looking to try and rocket themselves forward, try to take control of this series. 3 more rounds to go, and they will accomplish that, giving us the surprise win for them and sending Rogue as well into the lower bracket. Rogue are going to give up without a fight, though, but they're also not necessarily going to stick around on this 3rd floor hold. We'll be swiftly moving away from that. Unfortunately, lost too much ground far too quickly due to the limited amount of space they had to play with there. A few players misstepping, notably Leon getting caught by YZN at the beginning, and although they saw players attempt to make up for it and nearly did so, constantly having them force themselves into new positions led to more frags in the favor of Victus and eventually a full clear of the site The last player alive for Rogue just could not come back. Moving downstairs into the second floor is going to alleviate that concern, however, slightly gives them the extra space to play with here, and obviously opens up the second floor for full plays. Unfortunately, you don't really want to be caught rotating down there as a defender when you're holding the third floor, just because of how easily the attackers can pinch that out, both from their upstairs red hatch hold, as well as that rappel we saw in the very last round from YZN over on white here. So a little bit more freedom of real estate for the Rogue members to rotate around here and hopefully not get tripped up the same things that they fell to on the previous round. Also important to note too, it is going to be the library hold, not the train hold. Also, that is generally the go-to site. We see teams falling back onto the second floor, but sometimes they're feeling the other one.
Seems like we have a pretty unique rotation inside of Frieza that you don't see too often. 3-1, no, we actually didn't make a rotation. Did they end up reinforcing that? No, they didn't. It's still a soft panel to the right-hand side. That's what I was interested in there. So, yeah, it seems like they might have a rotation they can make late if they so choose here. Let's see exactly how that plays into their hands, though, as yes, indeed, Kanto does have an impact, so this could just be a late rotation coming through. We'll have to see how this is going to transpire. But now, for Skeptic, the rest of Victus, in fact, all drone game all the time at the current moment, except for the sledge. Oscar, he's moving forward. We're going to see exactly what's up next for them at the current moment, as he'll be able to gather control of red. And really, past that at the moment, it's really just the next focus of moving on towards holding down Christmas and kind of the split for bar and transitioning into the second floor. Also, a big rotation you can make down low, because this is usually a place where you'll see a lot of roamers or potential to move in between all of these different stairwells. You have 3 options, and that's a big thing. You can take a fight on white stairs, immediately rotate over to brown, or whatever you really need to do when it comes to this area. Oscar's going to be shifting this as we speak over towards brown stairs, as he'll continue to move up towards pillar.
Bit of a lulling moment for both teams. Rogue, noticing the amount of real estate they still have to play with, going to start shifting out a little bit, as you guys are noticing, and try to capitalize on it. But once again, man, it's always YZN with these opening engagements being taken by Victus here. Wins it out once more with his nade utility. Skeptic, in a completely different position, is going to follow it up with another entry for himself. That is going to bring him down quite low. So might be the end of the road for him, but never mind. It's going to be Oscar that falls first off here for the Victus roster, and doesn't fully get eliminated either. The Adrenal Surge ready to go, so that'll reboost Oscar back into the fight. Some defensive utility, such as the Toxic Babes, needs to be baited out. That will explain a bit of the hesitance you're currently seeing from Victus. Without a full upstairs clear, this is going to be a little bit precarious right now here. Kanto and a few of the other members of Rogue are going to have great reinitiation rights, just like that there for Leon. Swings up through Whiskey Stairs. It's going to be Skeptic hiding in the pillars, though, that frags that right back into the favor of Victus, taking out Leon. And after Flexi's kill, leaving only Deepak alive upstairs, fends off a very aggressive Flexi, who tries to end the round right now. And as well, Deepak tries to deny this plant, but will fail in doing so, thrusting us into a 1v3 clutch for him.
He thought they were going to plant anywhere besides the default spot, but that's exactly where they did indeed plant. He tries to manage all of the other angles and might be able to find one here with a shotty. He downs Skydie. Be able to claim that at least. He's on the timer, though, and on about 75% worth of his HP, he will drop into Laundry. Has one on white stairs, but he has to win this fight. The cross more than likely coming in soon. He's got the isolated challenge now as he tries to come down white stairs. Deepak to challenge back, though, because the timer's so very low. As he realizes it, he's been baited towards white stairs, and Skeptic will get the kill from reading. Victus Gaming with a 5-round advantage.
Victus so close now, just 2 rounds away from shutting it down. Probably gonna have a pause. Never mind. It looks like we got that player connected after all. Thought we had a player DC. So we're going to have everybody ready to rock and roll. And Victus will indeed be rocketing themselves towards a quick victory again, potentially here. What could be 7-3 if they're going to go unbroken. Rogue wants to stop that, but so far has been powerless to do so on their defensive half. The second as well as third floor holds have been flushed out. And at least that last round, a little bit of an unorthodox clear from Victus too, ignoring the upstairs hold entirely and still able to brute force their way past those pretty rough trade angles they had to deal with inside of Pillar there to eventually take site control. So props to Victus for making that one work, considering how they had to approach it. Now Rogue certainly has to be shaken a little bit about the potential outcome of this one. Even falling back to the first floor hold may not necessarily yield results for them here, which may force them onto one of the other 2 sites they've already played and unfortunately have already lost.
All right, well, Rogue needing this defensive round to stave off Victus, making it up and on to map and match point. Cryan will be getting the hatch at the current moment. Victus now into play. We're gonna have the Jackal in play as well. Touched on it previously, how much information this operator can give you on a map like Kafe. You can just clear out floor after floor quite handedly, and with a team that is obviously coordinated like it would be in comp, it makes it quite easy to clear things out and potentially get yourself an early pick. Also gonna have some more info game coming in on this lineup with Diana from Skydie. Been seeing that time and time again. So now for Victus, they've lost an initial drone, but they've already started to work their way upstairs. We have some angles being held, at least for the hop outs here over on the blacktop side. Scotty will try and make sure that no one tries to influence his position from red. Oscar's already gotten in upstairs for Cigar to see if he can potentially find any extra information.
Oscar will continue to hunt out any of the roaming members of Rogue. Only going to be able to potentially find one, but it's Cryan making that impact for Rogue here. Already finding Flexi. Oscar chasing down with a drone as well. He's going to spot these feet. He sees them as red as well, so he knows that they're going to be close by. He tries to desperately look for where this player has fallen back from. Fortunately, not going to be able to get a good lock on that. This player working themselves back over here into train yards, but the angle just so rough for Oscar to fight out against. Thought he might have been deeper inside of the corner in that little train that sits there, but no, he swung out ready to take the fight. And despite the low HP he now sits with, Cryan, great control of all of Victus's movement right now and really limiting their ability to focus on the actual site play. He may very well win this round for the team single-handedly as he finally goes down, picking up a third kill in the process.
Very well done from Cryan. A valiant effort on this second floor. They'll be able to take out member after member from Victus. Red Stairs now seeming to be on the docket for them, and a great cross here from Deepak as they've opened up this entire coat check angle like we had seen on Victus's side. And again, this is such a strong angle when it comes to those kitchen plants. Trees are going to be seemingly the body they want to try and go with. They'll open things up at the bottom of white as well, as it's only down to Skeptic and Skydie out of this 2 versus 4. Frag grenade out, but they have no idea where anybody is at the current moment. There is currently a player over inside of Booze, but he's dead to Skeptic. His timer continues to dwindle, though. They have to try and trudge along. There is not much time to try and hesitate.
Skeptic ready to move in here. As Stokes mentioned, not a lot of time remaining in this round. Needs to be a fast play from Victus, especially when you consider they've got an extra player to knock out as well. The nade thrown in almost throws them off, and instead, oh, we don't even get to see it because the flash blinds us. It's just a well-placed nitro from our defender sitting behind the counters. Catches them on timing, too, as you see from the replay. The second member of Victus just waltzing right in as the nitro cell was landing. So very unfortunate for them, as their execute strategy ends before they can even really get it started, and Rogue start to bounce back, although Victus still has one more attempt here to maintain the lead at a 5-4 scoreline.
Bar Cocktail Lounge up next here for Rogue as they're trying to shore up this score line. They're within striking distance now and still have the ability to close this out in regulation. And also, oh my, do you see what I see?
What do we got? Oh,
we
wow.
have an
All
Azami
right.
for the very
Finally.
first time here. This is officially going to be the very first round that you and I have ever casted Azami. This is it. Gamers Without Borders.
It's fitting that it's Spoit as well. It's going to chip on the Azami. So already some interesting things being lined up. There was like a really aggressive, I think it's meant to support Pixel, one that was like thrown up against the little half wall bar where Piano is and Cigar. So that one's probably going to help him out a little bit in terms of contending against the window and a few other positions. Here's another one. Okay, this one could be interesting too, because that could open up, that could restrict the like angles that they have from the roof. I'm just trying to guess as like Spoit tries to pre-line these up. He's not even throwing some of them yet. But either way, it's going to be a good start to the round. Though. Yeah, for Skeptic and the rest of Victus, they're going to be able to find Cryan early on here.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you were talking about. A lot of these early knives are usually used to try and set up like cover for yourself. In this position, the one that you saw thrown against the stage wall is going to be the stage window so that the guy can't influence him if he steps up inside of Ticket. And that one on chair is also going to help him because he's essentially created himself a safe space like right up on top of that chair. Like he can move all the way up and then just like jump up and down, as you can see from a bunch of different positions depending on what he has to do with this situation. It seems like that knife didn't really work out. I don't necessarily know what happened there. I think it's gone. I think they blew it up. But either way, though, That's what that initial setup is at least looking like it's meant to influence here. Looks like we might have some track singers, at least what I heard. No, I don't actually know what we just heard break right there. But either way, it's going to be another pickup for Victus, as they'll take down D-Beck. Oh, and here we go.
I think
This
that
is
was
what I was ready
the.
for.
I want to say that
He
was the
sealed the
second
window.
knife
Unticked.
spread being
Yeah,
broken
yeah,
over
yeah.
there. The
He's
one that
still
was
able the
supporting
third
window
knife actually, because yeah. It's the third knife actually. So she gets him over time. You get the 2 initially inside of the prep phase, and then it starts to tick down through, and
Oh,
you'll get
this is
this one
so
up next, and
annoying.
yada yada yada. Yeah, it's actually crazy because now he's just gonna laser gate reset it as well. Boop, and now we're just back to the same position.
So Vic does have two
this,
entries. Go ahead.
so this is the kind of influence that Azami can have with just like the overtime play. Like if you think Wamai is annoying with his ability to claim things like later on in the round, if you've already burned things out, this is a whole different kind of annoying when it comes to positions like this.
So Zomini already showing the type of impact she can make here. Victus, despite the fact that they have 2 entries, they can't get a single player in the building, at least not on Cigar's side right now. It does look like they have some presence building up towards White. I don't know if they're actually in it or not. Here we go. Spoit peeking out from behind these shields, able to already take down the first member of Victus. That Skeptic going down. It's going to force a D-repel for Flexi to pick up the case. This is how things fumble very, very quickly for our attackers here, largely because of the trip-ups from Spoit's utility here. Kanto is going to take some damage on the other end. Victus is trying to make their pressure from the White Stairs side work, and Spoil wants to be somewhat careful of that too. If that pressure builds up to too much, obviously it's just a shot directly in his back, so he has to make sure that his teammates are constantly giving out intel in that regard. Victus finally moving away from this, going directly for the Red Hatch entry. They'll get it out in their favor. They will be denied on Cigar, but it looks like a player was able to over for the New Hatch. Well, the second one as well finally reduces. They take out literally everything else but the Azami and leave her last. That seems to be the winning strategy here this time. The Azami, though, I would say specifically, works out brilliantly. It's just Victus was able to ignore it and work their way past the rest of the defensive setup.
I mean, they had to ignore it. They had 2 picks and they still couldn't move. Like it's a 5 versus 3, and they're still looking at each other like, so we go Christmas? I don't really know where we're going. Like it's very hard fought because this is exactly what you're saying. Like there's so many different ways that you can play around those. Especially with the positions that they ended up procuring. And the other thing is that you can like shut down the window. It's like, oh, you burned the laser gate, now burn this. Oh, okay. Well, it's such a difficult situation to try and fight back from. Luckily enough, just to remind you, if you at home are a little bit of a newer viewer to Siege, Azami's utility can actually be destroyed by simply just punching it. It's explosives or punching it
like
3
times. Right?
Yeah. Yes, it is indeed. It's 3 punches. Yes. So if you punch it 3 times, it's destroyed. So it's in those kind of positions, it's not necessarily great. Also, it's not great for resealing hatches because if you fall onto Azami's utility, it breaks. I think that they more than likely had that initial thought when they put the character together. It was like, oh yeah, we can have it seal up hatches, but then we had coconut bras and dingleberries of the world start climbing up some boxes that aren't allowed. So we had to remove that. Make it where those break when you climb on top of them. So thanks, Coconut Bro. We can't seal hatches anymore, and it's all your fault.
I mean, Azami was just kind of turned it into like Fortnite a little bit. Like you were just building yourself
she was
out
the
like a
character
or something.
She really was. Like she was the main character inside of Rainbow Six, inside of TTS for sure.
Either way, though, we are at an endpoint here. Victus is able to keep their consistency rocking 6-4. 1 round is all they need to secure this series and send Rogue down to the lower bracket. This seems to be a tier 2/tier 3 team playing inside of stuff like the NPL and the UKIN. About to knock out one of EUL's best here and send them into the lower bracket. This is beautiful stuff regardless of the outcome. Rogue, of course, still have their opportunity with 2 rounds of their own to swing it back and send us to overtime. So very curious to see if they can maintain positioning here. Victus has been truly a tough challenge, especially inside of the opening minute or so of play. Rogue have been constantly losing that opening duel, despite the fact that they have Spoit on their side, where we were able to see that prowess come out on the attacking end of it, having a little bit of trouble properly leveraging his and some of these other players' positions on the defense, which is giving Victus a lot of initiation right at the beginning of these second half rounds.
Absolutely. And now with this info from Rogue, seems like they actually might have the shoe on the other foot now, as they have the potential to try and take the fights to them. Victus stunning out Whitehall, frag grenades and all but the kitchen sink. Drones now, just trying to make sure that no one's playing the closer positions. Going to be another body inside of White Stairwell, but YZN trying to take him down. He's actually going to go for the rappel here, and funny enough, he's using the spear. He's not even using the LMG that we see almost the majority of the time that we see Finka nowadays, which is also the majority of the time. Looks like he wants to try and go for the upside down rappel, but they're going to be able to get Kanto as he's feeling a little spry, but he walks too close to the sun, and now that actually might be it. They're going a little bit too far. It's a 4 versus 2 as Deepak tries to make sense of the situation. He falls back towards Point as they try and reconcile now, but what can the next move be when the upside down rappel is so punishing from YZN? It's down to Spoit, who would have to make a highlight play to win this.
Spoit gonna see if he can make up the difference. Should have been able to hear the footstep cues to his left, but it won't even matter. Takes one with him on the way down, but the game is indeed over, and Victus will be your champions inside of this best of 3. They take it 2-1. Bit of a bumpy ride there on our second map on Chalet, but they're able to bring it back on both Border, of course, for our first map and our third and final map here on Kafe. So they will move onwards further into the upper bracket and knock Rogue down into the lower bracket.
Yeah, a very successful run so far from them. And, you know, at the very beginning of this series, you and I kind of talked about how the T2 and T3 scene kind of has this energetic play style that is starting to become more of the, not even the fan favorite, but just like the play style of Siege. And a lot of these teams can be quite dominant when they're confident in themselves. And I believe that's what we saw today. A little bit of Rogue just not having all the pieces of the puzzle put together, and Victus just coming out quite strong.
So our first map done and dusted. First match actually is finished up with us here, folks. We are going to go to a little bit of a longer break than we've had previously, but when we do come back, we're going to be getting you guys ready for our second series of the day as we move over to Latin America for our next one here, and we'll be having Furious Gaming going up against MIBR. So stick around for that, folks, and it'll be coming up in just a few minutes.